to imagine all life as you know it stopping instantaneously and every molecule in your body exploding at the speed of light.
Total protonic reversal.
Protonic reversal.
Protonic Reversal with your host, Conan Neutron. Broadcasting from a secret underground lair in Milwaukee, Wisconsin.
A gigantic middle finger to everything that is rock about music, rock and roll, and corporate power.
The thing is, though, if you don't laugh, you're going to go on a killing spree with sharpened nails.
Confidence of a hero or a fool. I wasn't exactly certain which.
Could not be more professional.
It's only one I choose to devote my life to. That's okay.
It means something. It means something.
And take that away.
You know, that's my take on it. What's yours?
Protonic Reversal!
That's like a science thing, right?
Indeed it is. It is a science thing. It is a science place. It is a scientific fact. We're all up in your face. It is time once again for the one, the only Protonic Reversal. Welcome to it. Welcome to it. Welcome to it. Today, I'd like to welcome returning guests. It's been almost exactly a year since I had this gentleman on. I realized that today. So we didn't plan it that way, or did we? Maybe we did. You know him. The world knows him as the incredible one quarter of Sloan, also Tuns, Trans-Canada Highwaymen, Murder Records, none of which we talked about last time. Hopefully we'll talk about it this time. Mr. Chris Murphy, welcome back, sir.
Thank you for having me. Can you hear me okay? I don't want to start out so unprofessionally. You can hear me fine?
Oh, yeah. You sound great, and I always start out unprofessionally, so it works out fine.
Okay, great. Thank you for having me. I should start by saying happy birthday to my life partner, Jay Ferguson. It's my buddy Jay Ferguson's birthday today, so I'm sending a shout out to him. And, you know, I don't know how many people you're saying, like, the world knows me as, like, I beg to differ. But anyway, if you do, if for whatever reason you have heard of me, yes, I play in the groups of which you spoke. Thank you for having me on. A year later, I'm like, am I going to tell all this? Should I really try to go for broke and try to say the exact same stories as last year and make it like a mirror? Or should I really say, I probably told that story because that's my A material. I have to sort of dig into my B and C material. So congratulations, everyone.
It's like, when comedians would do Carson or whatever, right? And then they would find ways of just working their act into it, like with a prompt. Oh, so I heard you rode the bus here. Oh, yeah, well, think about buses, so on and so on.
I have so much. Yeah, when I first got a VCR, I would basically always just try to tape comedy, whether it was like on Carson or whatever. So like, and I know that Jay Leno doesn't even make the top 100 comedians list anymore, even though like I thought he was the greatest. Whenever Leno was on Letterman, it was just like an explosion of like, oh my God, this is the funniest thing of all time. But if we need to vamp, I know complete routines of Leno on Carson, just in case.
Chris Murphy.
If it comes to that.
Oh, on Carson.
Should I start with that, or should I? Well, just like.
Yeah, with a build-up like that, how can we not?
I like Lauren Green. How long has he been doing these Alpo commercials, eh? And he's always up there, this dog is 7, and that's 1,000,000 of our years. Yeah, right here, Lauren, the dog was born 7 years ago. The dog was 7, case closed. I mean, the earth doesn't move faster for dogs. Anyway.
They did this history of late night special here, and I sort of was like, oh yeah, I'll check into this and like see what's up. And then I watched the whole damn thing, and I was sort of like, even though I know all about it, I get it, but it was actually pretty well done, and it is an interesting evolution. And here's where I do the professional pivot. It reminded me to a certain degree of music because back in the days of yore, it was Carson. Carson was Carson, right?
Yep, for sure.
And now it's like, okay, you got Fallon, you got Kimmel, you got Colbert's got a show. Like there's all these smaller shows that have these more kind of niche audiences, and it kind of just reminds me to a certain degree of how things are a little more not niche oriented necessarily, but just it's harder to have that universality, that universal experience of everyone listening to the same band.
For sure.
Hearing a Teen Spirit or something along those lines and being like, I remember where I was.
I remember thinking in the 80s, now I was more interested by the time it was the 80s, I was trying to think of myself as alternative and then punk or whatever. But I remember thinking, all the best groups were in the 60s and 70s. Or you don't see big groups anymore. And of course, now I look back at the 80s as like there were all these like behemoth huge groups. But it's just it's not the same. And music, as I'm playing and you're playing like rock music. We are at this point preservationists. Like we're basically living, breathing Madame Tussauds. We're playing jazz basically, except for the chops. We're chopsless jazz, and we're just like playing the music of old. Like they teach it in school. Like you can be in rock band in school. It just means if you can take a rock band class in high school, it means it's probably not that cool.
Yeah, if there's a syllabus on it, probably rebellious. Yeah.
Exactly.
But yeah, and that's that's fun. The chops thing, especially, that's a good derivation on that bit. Make sure to use that when you're on Fallon.
We played, I just want to say, like in the late night world, so we never, as you know or suspect, like Sloan never had any kind of mainstream media in the US. Whereas up here, we would be on the Mike Bullard show, which everyone's talking about in the States. But I joke, of course. But we were on another Conan's show. We were on, I think there was a cancellation. So we got to be on Conan O'Brien's show, December 23rd or some date where they couldn't get anyone to go. 1999. So, somebody canceled. Anyway, that's a big feather in our cap. And I do love, I love both Conans. I know you better. I know you better. So
he's much.
I was very thrilled to be on that show. Anyway, that was a kind of one and only late night anything. But I saw Jimmy Kimmel making out with Sarah Silverman in a bar in 2003. So
fantastic.
And I feel like I was part of that too.
But you felt like you were really part of something special there.
Yeah, there was a place in LA called M Bar where all the kind of like hip comedians went.
I have played M Bar.
Oh, have you really? Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
It was in 2003, and we were making a record in LA, like big shot assholes do, and so, but whatever. I haven't been interested in music for a long time, except for my own. But I'm always interested in comedy. Like think about comedy. I love the history of comedy, and if there's new comedy, I'm into it. And I just don't feel that way about music. Sadly, my brain and my heart is just full, and I can still lift a house if I hear the Bad Brains. But I'm not listening to new hardcore or whatever.
Turnstile is apparently the new hotness. And I'm like, great, I will eventually listen to that, I'm sure.
You probably will, and I probably won't. But I sometimes hear some stuff from my kids, but like they're not into hardcore and stuff like that. But my older kid is into like Gorillaz or whatever. Yeah. So I'm hearing that. So for the first time.
When Sloan was on the OTHER Conan's show, was that a cool experience? Did they shoot you well? Was it a nice time? Was it weird?
It was super cool, and it seemed to be a little chilly on the set. I feel, but maybe it was always like that, or just like whatever. He just had to sort of preserve his energy all day. We sat in a green room and watched them rehearse on a sort of closed circuit feed. So we watched them rehearse for hours, and they really took it seriously. And he was like, "Okay, well, I'm going to wait a beat, and then I'm going to do this." And I videotaped the TV, so I have about probably an hour and a half of him rehearsing, because I was so excited to be there. Yeah. And so if he wants access to that, I won't charge him.
Exactly. Get the exclusive. You can get it for the.
He might want that. That was NBC, I guess.
So did you get to see like the bits get gradually more well rehearsed and better?
Yes, and some cut. Like it's like, you know what, this isn't working, get it out. I think it even had literally had a monkey on the they were doing a bit with a monkey, and then finally they were just like, yeah, screw it, we're not having this monkey on. This is ridiculous. And we played we played a song called "Losing California," so it was like from our fifth album, and if you remember from a year back, just for some continuity, Between the Bridges marks the beginning of our commercial decline. But we did get to be on Conan, so it was fun.
So what would you say? Because it's a rare echelon of guests that have had this experience, so I do find it interesting. What's it like as a band, like doing a TV performance on like a late night show? Like, does it feel more antiseptic somehow? Does it feel more like being in the studio? Is it a melange of the two? I mean, you don't have like Paul Schaefer playing along with you. I get it, but like,
Right. And that maybe not everyone knows, like you had to play with Paul Schaefer at first.
Yeah.
Like if you were to go on, like I think Sonic Youth played with, did they play with it? Or no, they were on Night Music and they played with Richard Sanborn.
but if Pixies played with Paul Schaefer.
Oh, did they really?
They did,
But I bet they don't mind. I bet they're happy that they played with Paul Schaefer. Like Paul Schaefer's hilarious. Like he's fun. He's obviously a great musician. You know, maybe not that cool, or like, you know what I mean? Like this, maybe, you know, you were the Pixies. You're trying to be cool, and Paul Schaefer is whatever. Goofball, but
with a big running the keyboard department energy.
Yes.
Player.
Yes. But I don't know, like we didn't have that much experience on it. We're just happy to be there. Like I think actually I was pretty sick when we did it, so I think I was mostly just lying down to, you know, I'm saying I remember it as low energy probably because I was lying down the entire time. But we were just, you know, anytime we were like in New York or like feeling like, you know, it just felt like our lives were moving forward or something in a way that was happening kind of less and less at that point for us. And I may have also described, this is the last time I'll refer to the last time I was on this show, but
reference. Okay.
But,
yeah.
Well, I just mean, whatever. I don't think people are going to be cross-referencing this show, but it came at a time when I was like changing my attitude from being, why aren't we bigger than we are, to, well, you know, a lot of our friends' bands are all falling the wayside. Like we're happy to still be doing it. So like I sort of had corrected my bad attitude.
Making the journey the destination a little more than maybe used to
yeah be. And you know, I really thought we were one of the greats. I thought that we would be more known than we were. And even, you know, and we also have, you know, two careers. So in Canada we were on the radio and on TV and stuff like that, and in the States we never really, you know, I can count the times. I think we were played on 120 minutes 2 times, and yeah. I think we were introduced by Henry Rollins, who said nice things about us. You know, like I really like these guys, whatever. Like I think he's like a music fan guy. You know what I mean? Like
he's a huge music fan. Yeah.
Yeah. But so yeah, I don't know what my point is I'm doing. Anyway, it was fun to be on Conan, and fun now to look back and think that we were a part of that kind of the old world, you know what I mean? In the old days, even though like my guy was, you know, yes, I saw Carson and I met Conan O'Brien, but Letterman was the guy. Oh. Letterman, when I was in high school, I should have researched this. Like, how old are you? You're like, are you?
I'm turning 45.
Okay, so you're 40 at least.
Yeah. And I caught the tail end of like, oh, Letterman's like, this is awesome. Like my dad would watch it all the time, and I was like, I'm pretty sure I shouldn't be watching some of this, but it's great.
But because Letterman changed everything. Like Carson, I watched, but Carson was not my guy. You know what I mean? He was by the time I was seeing him, he was from a bygone era. But anyway, Letterman.
Letterman's almost like the Ramones or something, and the fact that he's so fundamentally changed what people think about in certain ways with music that like the influence is just it's taken for granted.
Yes, and I see everything like that through the eyes of my children. I was just like, you know, The Simpsons are really, like, when The Simpsons came on, let me just try to explain to you just like how lame network TV was, and they don't want to hear it and don't care. And they find The Simpsons funny enough, you know, but even The Simpsons seems pretty slow, or like, you know.
Well, I mean, it's been on 1,000 seasons.
Christian, even, like almost a Christian show.
Like, what is there left to do? Like, what? Yeah. How many more stories can you write? I mean, it's almost like.
I know. So my 14-year-old is now watching. He was watching The Simpsons, and it was, you know, Homer flashback to when he was in high school and he was into rap, and I was like, well, I guess that makes sense now. But when he first came on and he flashed back, he was like doing Richard Nixon impersonations. Like,
right.
It was like, so it's so funny that they, you know, the kids never grew up, and so now their references for high school for Homer are like, he was into rap music, and Abe Simpson didn't understand. Anyway, silly.
Abe Simpson is talking about being at Woodstock.
Yeah. It's like, now I'm the age of Abe Simpson, I guess. Exactly.
But the experience, and the reason why I asked is because I had Aaron from Red Fang on. Actually, Paul Schaefer played with Red Fang, which is actually to me more hilarious than him playing with the Pixies.
Wow.
And he kind of, after me prodding him, he sort of went into depth of like the whole experience, and it'd be especially for a band like them that is, as much as they play big shows, they're a well-regarded working band, but that's some scruffy alley cat looking motherfuckers. Like, frankly, they probably didn't expect they were going to be able to be playing with like Letterman. And then, to which they have like, hey, can Paul play with you? They were like, hell yes, he can. Of course.
Right. Yeah.
Like, yes. Someone asks you if you're a god, you say yes.
Yeah.
Are you kidding? Yeah.
Yeah. Good for them.
So other than like seeing a bunch of rehearsals for the upcoming show, like what was it? How was the experience overall?
There was part of me, of course, that fantasized that we would meet Conan and like he would become our buddy because,
Right.
he would realize that we're actually really funny too. And whatever, we would get our own, monkeys type show that he would write or shepherd. But none of that. Like, we shook his hand and he was cool, and that was the end of it. But we're fans for sure. Like, we loved him. And I don't have a lot of good stories from that. So I'm going to circle back to recent history. I'm going to tell you a boring story that in January, so since we talked, by the way, I don't think so Sloan hasn't played a show since I talked. I haven't done anything. I've been sitting in the same chair. You've played shows, right?
I have been a couple. We did the state fair.
Well, maybe I should interview you. What was it like? What's it like in the world? What's happening?
That was great. It was Wisconsin, so people were very drunk. The least shocking development ever. But yeah, we got thanked for being a rock band. That's cool. That's going back to your like we're basically playing jazz scenario. It's like, oh, so nice.
My God. We played in Montreal one time, and this woman, it was at something that we deserved this because it was like something we clearly took the money because it was like the Indy 500, some fucking stupid thing. But
Yeah.
So we're playing or some sideshow at this bigger thing, and then our intro was like, "Does anybody remember Sloan?" It was pretty hurtful.
Oh God, that's some Spinal Tap and Puppet Show.
It
level.
was puppet show. But okay, so you played you just played like a couple shows. What did you?
Like four of them. One with the documentary that I'm in about touring, and the state fair show is kind of why we ended up reconvening because it was like, how can we say no to that? And then one this outside brewery, and like it was all cool. Like I would not feel comfortable booking a tour still, right? Like, but I think like. It worked. It worked, and I had my reservations. Let's put it that way. Like we got like there's other things.
Was it full capacity?
So the state fair is outside. So
Okay.
almost all of them have been outside, which sort of sweetens the deal. Okay, it's outside. If you don't want to be near someone who's super spreading because of freedom or something,
Right.
you have to be
In the name of freedom. Sure.
in the name of
I'm
freedom.
familiar.
But I still haven't. It's so weird. I feel such a hypocrite. I haven't been to that many shows because I'm like,
Right.
I don't know.
Well, so Sloan now has two shows up for sale in November.
Yeah.
We had a whole tour booked in November that got canceled fairly recently. So that was going to solve all our financial problems. But it was kind of a funny tour, so you wouldn't even get the joke except for, so like, I don't mean to say joke because I don't mean to make fun of people, but it was like a packaged 90s tour with a bunch of these Canadian bands who were kind of big in Canada, so you wouldn't even know. So the bands were, stop me when you know who these people are.
Okay. Yeah.
Headstones,
Nothing.
Tea Party. You heard of Tea Party? You might know Tea Party because they were offered a whole bunch of money by the Tea Party, like Republicans, for their domain name.
That's for real.
That's true. That's true. And they're kind of like a Led Zeppelin meets the Doors. No sense of humor, like very like I have, literally between song banter is like, I have led you into damnation, like whatever, just make us seem like goofballs because we're like, we get along with this guy. And the other band is called Moist. Did they ever?
Oh yeah, I do know that band. Yeah,
you've heard of that band? Okay, so I wouldn't know who you'd know. Anyway, it was like a '90s tour that was a package tour with another band that had to cancel, and they were like, will you do this tour? And we were kind of like, in our minds, like we're still like young brats. We're like, we're too cool for this tour. But but it was good money, and we had already missed 18 months of playing. It was like, well, this will kind of catch us up to everything, and then who gives a shit? Like everything that we do that's not ideal. We just think of it as like we don't have to put this on our record. We don't have to write a song. We don't have to write a song that we don't like, or like sing about Kentucky Fried Chicken or whatever. Like we don't have to sing about any mistakes we've made are not on the records. Like I look back, I'm like, do we play that show? That's sponsored by some cigarette company. Oh my God. Anyway, well, it's not, look at our record. Our records are pristine. Anyway, that got canceled. So now we have just 2 shows for sale. They're both limited capacity. It's like a 1,000-seater venue, but like it's 250 tickets.
Yeah. So it's not going to be nuts to butts or anything, as they say.
Yeah. But the laws just changed here. The rules just changed here in Ontario, Canada, where I live. That you can do full capacity shows, and it was happening just like we hadn't announced our shows, and we got on the phone like, are we changing to full capacity? Like maybe people don't want to come to full capacity shows. Like maybe we should assure people that it's limited capacity. Like maybe anyway. So that's what we've done, and that's what we're doing, and it won't change our fortunes, but like it'll be a bit of money come in, and we're not in desperate straits. Like we're one of the lucky ones. I know that it's been like a devastating time for a lot of people, and I don't mean to make light of it and all that stuff. But I'm not sitting on mountains of cash. Like I got to work at some point.
Right. At some point, it's good, bad, or ugly. You got to get rolling here.
Yeah. So I also was doing. So I guess I had, by the time I spoke to you last time, I had already done at least one solo show from my house.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
So
it's either you had one or you were about to do the first one, which I saw, and I actually saw all of them, but the last one, I think. And it was great.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, so I've never been interested in people playing solo, or just like I love the Kinks, and I've been to see Ray Davies play it. I'm just like, it'd be better if it were the Kinks, even though, anyway, I just have and again, I won't reference our last show, and maybe I'll tell the story, but like I just love bands. Like I just am in love with the idea of bands. It's just a romantic thing. It's part of what keeps our band together. Is just my immature idea that bands are cool or whatever. Or like I'm into making a giant body of work as a band. And as an aside, like Sloan is pretty far into our 13th record. Like we've been making it, and I'm really happy about it. And I was just with Patrick yesterday, and he was cool and collaborative, and it just felt like the old days. It's like, hey, this is cool. And he added something to my song, which is kind of the best part. So I just always like that kind of romantic collaboration that often doesn't happen for us anymore as you get older and all that kind of stuff.
Well, you don't have as much time. You're not spending all your time on music anymore. You got other things in your life. And
yes, but all I do is like fantasize that our band continues in some shape. And I'm always Jay and I especially are always trying to come up with new initiatives. In the past year, like we put out 2 B-sides compilations and, these other things. Anyway, so I did a couple shows. I think my first one was in September, and I believe I spoke to you in October. So I think I had done one. So I did 4 in a row where I didn't do any repeats of songs. And then I was kind of like, that's kind of all the songs I have.
I found that really both impressive and sort of like, wow, that's quite a box to sort of put yourself in. Like you got to kind of think this through.
Yeah. So, I mean, I guess I knew that I was playing for a niche. I was getting 400 people to come see me, which is cool. They pay $10. Like that's money in my pocket. That's great. But, that's a lot. That's worldwide. Anybody in the world could have come. So there were billions of people who were not interested in that. So
that's kind of, I guess that's one way to look at it. Sure.
But I just mean like the people who were there, like I knew, admittedly, the first one I didn't say in advance that I was going to be doing that. And I actually got 700 people to come to pay to see that one. But then it became probably immediately, they were like, what is this B material? So I had, I personally have like 4 songs that are recognizable to whatever, just that have been on the radio up here or whatever. And I had to spread those over 4 shows. And I was singing 12 to 15 songs. So there's a lot of songs that people did not know. But anyway, so it went down from 700, but I think the 400 people that came subsequently, they were prepared for me to be in the weeds, and it was good. And then, but this story all leads to the fact that So I did those 4, and then I gave it a rest. And then I had another one booked in last February. And the thing that happened, and then I got Bell's palsy in January. And so the left-hand side of my face, Bell's palsy, if you don't know, is like it affects the muscles in your face. So I got up one morning and I was spitting in the sink, brushing my teeth, and I was just like, I can't spit. This is weird. And then I could tell that my face just turned into a melted candle. Like, it was really scary. Oof. But I was also I was waiting for my hand, my left hand to go. I was like, this is a stroke, I guess. I don't think about Bell's palsy. Like, I had heard of it, I guess. I was like, I guess I'm having a stroke. And I was just terrified to lose my left hand, because then I'd be like, what am I going to do?
Yeah.
And I made lots of jokes about, like, as a person who's traded on his looks, this is devastating. So I had the real melted candle face, but I took a steroid right away, which you're supposed to do. And, in over months, like, it's still kind of happening. Like, I can still tell the difference, but like, I really have been fortunate. Like, my face is pretty normal. Like, if you look at me, like, I guess it's not a visual show here, but
yeah,
it's pretty normal. But it was, and my wife, so in January, February, it was like really scary looking kind of. And, but sorry, the other silver lining, Sloan wasn't playing shows, couldn't play shows, and everyone has to wear a mask. So it's like, if you have to, if I had to have it, I'll take it. I'll take it now. And
there's never a good time, but there's certainly
yes. But then my wife was like, "Well, you should share." I took pictures of myself, and she was like, "Share this picture on Instagram." I'm like, "God, I look like a monster. I don't want to share that. What if in 2 months I'm completely better and I'm going to wish that this picture never existed?" Because I'm as vain as the next person. Don't get me wrong. But anyway, she convinced me to do it. And I was just, I had it in my hand. I was like, should I? And then she pressed share or whatever. So then there's a picture of me. And in Canada, like, it ran on the Associated Press or whatever. Like, it became a news story. It's like, so it was just my picture from Instagram. And it was like, it was a non-story, but the picture was kind of like shocking enough. It was like, here's a guy who had something shocking happen to his face. And so I was joking with that. And I'm sort of segueing into the fact that besides Sloan, I do have these other groups. So one of them is the Trans-Canada Highwaymen,
which I did not ask at all about last time, and I really feel that was
that's
one.
Okay. Well, we don't have records. Like, we don't. It's kind of just like it's a show. It's like this celebration show. So that I do that show with Stephen Page, who used to be in Bare Naked Ladies, Mo Berg from a group called The Pursuit of Happiness. I don't know. Like, they had hits in the States, and they had a record produced by Todd Rundgren.
But I couldn't pick them out of a lineup.
Their big song was called I'm an Adult Now. Anyway, it was big up here. It was like an indie. They had an indie video for it, and then they got signed by a major, and then they did a big shitty version video of it, and then whatever. But he's in this group, and another guy named Craig Northey, who's in a group called Odds. And so the 4 of us we all come from bands, and we each take 4 of our songs and make a set out of that, and play them as a group. We're the group, so like, I play the drums, and I'll come up and play bass, kind of thing. And one of those jokers will go back and play drums for my songs, which suck because none of them can play. but they all get a kick out of it, and I get a kick too. Like, the audience gets a kick out of the struggle of Stephen Page trying to play the drums because he sucks on drums. But anyway, I was in a text thread with these guys, and I was complaining. I was like, geez, this picture of me is the melted candle. This has been picked up by the Canadian press. Like, this is the most known picture of me now. And Stephen Page wrote back to me, because Stephen had been busted for drugs in like 2009 or something. He sent me his mugshot. He was like, this is the most known picture of me. And I was like, and I was like, yeah, but you never look better than your mugshot. You look great in your mugshot. I look like shit. Anyway, so yes, I play in we call ourselves the Trans-Canada Highwaymen. It's kind of a reference to the Highwaymen, who is Johnny Cash and
super group with Willie Nelson,
Waylon Jennings, I guess.
Yeah, I think
Christopherson,
Chris.
Johnny Cash. Yeah. Anyway, and we've played shows, and it's not, you know, it's not a giant part of my life, but I love those guys, and they're just old friends, and it's super fun. And should I just keep talking about nothing?
You're doing great. You hardly need me. It's fine.
Well, okay. So it's funny. So Stephen Page was in a group called the Bare Naked Ladies that probably don't come up much on this podcast because, you know, they have novelty hits that everybody think are just, you know, not cool or whatever. And I understand. I met those guys in 1990, and I thought that they were fantastic. And they made all kinds of, you know, they're goofball shorts on stage, you know, just they revel in how uncool they are.
Yeah. Their uncoolness. Yeah.
But they're super funny and super smart guys, and like they would have a song like "This Is Me in Grade 9." This is me in grade 9, baby. Like I think of myself as funny. I think of myself as having humor in my songs, but like it's such a fine line, eh? Like humor and music, like it's dangerous. And they've, you know, they're on the other side of the line that I am very wary of. But anyway, I do love those guys. Anyway, they had a breakup. Steven got in shit for drugs. I don't know how it sort of ended with him. This is like 2009. I think he kind of got kicked out of the band or quit or whatever. It was rough. And so I've been playing with Steven and the Highwaymen, but I'm still friends with those other guys. And I got a call from a producer of a show up here, and he was like, "Do you want to come and sing with the Bare Naked Ladies?" So the Bare Naked Ladies continue as a group without Steven.
Right.
Like, "Do you want to come and sing with these guys at this small show?" And I was like, "I don't know. Like, do I have to rap? Like, is this going to be? Am I going to regret this for the rest of my life?"
That's an important question.
Will there be cameras? And I should say that I did do some rapping in the 80s in my other band, but whatever. That's not on the internet, so whatever. You'll never see it. But and so I was kind of like, I don't want to do it. But the thing is, I've been playing with Steven. Are they going to think that they're not friends with me anymore? It's like, well, he'll play with him, but he won't. So I was like, yeah, okay, I'll do it. And so but I never spoke to them directly. And then I eventually got a call back from the producer. He's like, yeah, you're not going to do it anymore, but you can still come and watch the show. And I was like, that's the worst of both worlds. I don't want to go. I'm just joking. They're friends of mine. But
good luck.
But I learned a song just in case, showed up, and they see me and they're like, "Oh, what are you doing here?" And I was too embarrassed to say, like, did the producer ask you if I should play? And then you were like, "No, but you don't want me to know that." And anyway, I didn't know where it's to. I just wanted to be friends with everybody. So I didn't care if I was like, I don't need to shoehorn myself into this show, but I'm here, and here's the song I know. And by the way, it was "This Is Me" in grade 9. And they did they're like, well, maybe we'll call you up. So they did their whole show, and then they said, well, we're done, except for Chris Murphy's here, and we're going to do one more song, and we haven't rehearsed it. We haven't played the song in like 10 years. And so they called me up, and we did it, and they screwed it up, but like they went back, they started over again and did this other verse. Like, it was totally fun. They were totally into being in the moment and off the cuff, and they didn't care about how unprofessional it seemed. It was kind of the perfect experience. It was great.
Sure.
But then I'm going to say, how much Bare Naked Ladies time do I have? Kind of 15 minutes?
I don't think that's the quota. You can keep going. Yeah.
I'm almost done. Then they were inducted into the Canadian Music Hall of Fame, and they had to reunite with Page, the four of them. I had just performed with them, and I perform with Page all the time. Yeah. And they had to perform together, and that it was chilly. Like, they had to get up on stage and play at the Juno Awards, which is like the Canadian Grammys, and it just didn't seem. I just felt bad for them. I wish that they had a better, more fun experience, because I remember how fun it was to do it with these guys, but like it was just all kind of, you know, the four guys were defiantly like, no, like, we're not looking back. Like, everybody wants a band to reunite, you know what I mean? It's like, why not have Steven back in the band? And they were just kind of defiantly like,
nope,
fuck that. Like, we've made 5 records without them, and you know, all their interviews was just like, you know, we're just looking forward. Yeah, we're happy to celebrate. Anyway, I felt kind of bad. Anyway, all that to say, I play in a group called the Trans-Canada Highwaymen sometimes. No recordings with them at this point. But I'm just trying to tell non-Sloan stories at this point.
Well, and that's so for the listeners that are not Canadian, that is a reference to the actual Trans-Canada Highway, which may seem obvious if you
that's right.
Tour, you would be aware of that. But yeah, that's a thing, and so it's a play off of the Highwaymen, of course.
Yes. And one more level, Canada is a country directly to your north, just in case. If you've got your grade 6 and then you went and
for the American, there are people that live in other countries. For Australia, it's not to your north, or it's very much to your north.
There's a whole thing in Canada, as you might know or suspect, about like smug Canadians who think Americans don't know anything, and I don't mean to partake in that sort of like Americans are stupid thing, right, because I don't agree. And also, like, if you turn the tables and you start asking Canadians about the Northwest Territories, how much do you know about Iqaluit, or how much do you know about even Mexico, or you know what I mean? Right. Like they don't know anything. Anyway, I don't expect Americans to know about Canada.
Letterkenny, the G-gens from upcountry. That's always that's a good laugh line. Even though without having a frame of reference, I'm like, no, I get that immediately.
Right.
That's awesome.
And do people know what Trailer Park Boys is? Do you know what this phenomenon?
It certainly most people that be listening to this show, I'm sure, are aware of that show, which is
okay. Now for your own, just polling you. In the show, like, can you go 5 characters deep on that show, or do you just know the guy with the glasses? Like, do you know?
I know like the main cast, but I am gonna say it's been years. It's been years.
Well, there are 3 guys. The show started with 2 guys, and then Bubbles was this kind of like Coke bottle glasses wearing guy who became kind of the breakout character, the Fonz character, if you will. Of that show. But there is a Rosencrantz and Guildenstern characters named Trevor and Corey. And Corey, I knew he was in a group called Hip Club Groove, and their record came out on Murder Records, the sort of Sloan imprint label that we started when Sloan put out its first EP in 1992. And they had a record called Trailer Park Hip Hop. And then these guys are on the show, and then soon after this show, Trailer Park Boys. Like I think that it's sort of I think that Trailer Park Boys kind of they didn't steal the idea from Trailer Park Hip Hop, but like I think they were pretty influenced by that. And the other guy, his name is Mike Jackson, and I know him from the hardcore scene. I've known him since 1985 or 6, when he was a little boy. He's a year or 2 younger than me, but he plays the other character, Trevor, and those 2 guys unceremoniously quit Trailer Park Boys, like as shooting was beginning for like season 6 or whatever, like that. They were mad about like the main guys got all the lines. Like they would joke that the Bubbles character, if something got a laugh at a table read, he'd be like, maybe Bubbles should say that. Like he would steal all the good lines, and so
right.
And I think they all, and then the proper, like the ownership of the show and stuff, it didn't extend to the whole family. Anyway, that's just business, and that ruins everything. But that's my segue to try to talk about the fact that so Murder Records.
Yeah, I was going to ask about Murder Records because we didn't talk about that literally at all. And since then, there's also a Murder Records archive Instagram, so you can kind of like see all the different releases and stuff. That's really cool.
Yes, so Murder Records is, I live in Toronto, Canada right now, and I've been here since 1997. But when Sloan started, we made a recording. We started it, September 91, like basically right as people needed to have their act together and the world came looking for people like us. So we were like ready to go. So we had a recording, and we put out an EP, and we just put the name Murder Records, which I was always embarrassed of the name. I was just like, do we think we're tough or something? Like, what does that mean?
Is that a hard? Oh yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And then, but my save on that was the logo is a bunch of M's flying, like a murder of crows, like the collective term for crows is murder. So like that's my joke.
The murder of crows. Yeah.
Yes. So And so our first EP came out on that. And then we came from a great scene. There was another group called Eric's Trip that we did a record with them, and then they signed to Sub Pop. And then there was a group called Hardship Post, and they signed to Sub Pop. They were from Newfoundland. Eric's Trip was from Moncton, New Brunswick, where my wife is from, actually. And then the fourth group was called Thrush Hermit, and they signed to Elektra in the States. And then there was a group called Jail. They signed to Sub Pop. Anyway, there's a lot going on. There's a group called the Super Friends. There's a group called the Inbreds, which signed to like a Atlantic subsidiary called Tag. There's a lot of cool stuff going on in the Maritimes. Anyway, so we had the most money because we signed to Geffen. So we had a bunch of money, and I still lived with my parents at least some of the time. So we had money, and we were putting out records by our friends, and we were trying to be, cool utopian business, because we were signed to a major, but we would never do that. We'd never put any kind of strings attached to any of our friends and all this stuff. And by then, with the Nirvana story, like Nirvana was so big and Sub Pop became so big because they had Bleach. And we kind of thought of that as a potential business model. It's like, well, if Eric's Trip becomes really big, then we have their first EP. So like, we'll make some money. And nobody ever, it was a complete community service project. Like no money was made. But so we put out a lot of records.
No money was made, yeah.
We put out a lot of records up until about 1997. And like in 97, 98, Andrew moved to Toronto right away, like in 1993 from Halifax. But the rest of us kind of gradually moved up. We were all up there by 97, 98. And it was a real, like Discord or something. I don't mean to compare it to like the greatest record label of all time, but like it was, it was about Halifax, basically. It was about, that scene, you know what I mean? Yeah. So we were no longer living there. And then we still had bands that were active. They were like, okay, we got our next record. It's like, okay, we'll put that out. But we were, we had our head up our ass trying to make our own band go, and, trying to meet girls in Toronto. So Murder Records kind of it just sort of became a method for putting out Sloan records. It meant that we tried to always own our own masters and deal with a distributor. In Canada, that would be a major most of the time, and in the States, we were just back and forth with whomever. And then we tried to do a little resurgence in the early 2000s. We put out my wife's band, Pony de Look, and this other group called Will Curry and the Country French. But like we were assigned to, we had a distribution deal with BMG, which became Sony up here, and they were kind of like tentacles, and we were just like, I don't want to, just shut it down. But more recently, we've been trying to, as you say, with the pandemic, like I made an Instagram account and just trying to document all the things, kind of foolishly. Like I wanted it to be a pristine document. I was like, the first post is going to be Murder Record 001. And I showed the front cover, the back cover, the vinyl, like a goofball or whatever.
And so on and so on. And
I wanted it to just be all in order. I didn't want to have anything except for the archive there. And so I had some people following that, and some of the bands that had been involved were chiming in. So there were like little reunions, and it was kind of romantic and cool. This is like January, February last year, or this year. Yeah. But then I got to the end, and I was just like, well, I don't want to pervert this with other Murder Records. So I started another Murder Records account to put other Murder Records, anyway, and nobody followed that. But anyway, it doesn't matter. But yeah, from time to time, so that's all to say that I play in this other group called Tuns, Tuns, with my friends Matthew Murphy, no relation, and Mike O'Neill, and they're both kind of Murder Records alums. Matt Murphy was in a group called Super Friends, and Mike O'Neill was in a group called the Inbreds, and they were both fantastic. And like almost everybody I know, like they never made a dime, and they made great records, and that was it. And I know lots of people like that too. That's the story of basically probably everybody who listens to this is just like, yeah, I had a great band too, and nobody cared. But anyway,
check.
So anyway, in 2016, these old friends and I, or 2015, started playing. And then in 2016, we put out a record, Tuns record, through a label up here called Royal Mountain Records, which had like a bunch of cool younger bands on it. So we were kind of excited to be on this cool record label with young, cool bands. And more recently, last March, we put out our second record, but we just did it. We just did it through the Murder Records imprint. We just used the Murder Records and name, but we just used our own money. I basically used my own money, paid myself back, and we basically broke even and made a little bit of money. Best case scenario, basically for fun projects. You know what I mean? Yeah. And so that's a going concern, and that's kind of Murder Records in the present. So I got to add that to the Murder Records archive Instagram, and we have shows booked in December, and hopefully they happen, and hopefully I can get us to rehearse in the meantime, because we haven't played a show since August 2018. So and we're a three-piece. I play the drums in that group, and it's awesome.
Yeah, the records are cool, and it has its own voice. But I think it's also, like, if you're into the Sloan stuff, like, it's not going to seem like it's coming from outer space necessarily.
No, I know. If you're like, my mother is always like, my mother would hear, I don't know who, she'd hear any kind of rock band. Certainly the Foo Fighters, for example. That's not even like a bad example. She's like, oh, it just sounds like you guys. Like she just think it's all the same or whatever. It's like rock music, right? Anyway, but anyway, yeah, you wouldn't think that it's that weird. Matt and Mike and we all kind of have, I always think of us as each having like these high voices, these tenor voices. And then we played a show, and a guy came backstage, and he was like, oh, it's so interesting to see, it's really great, 2 tenors, and he points to me and a natural baritone. I'm like, what are you talking? Like, I took offense that I was the natural baritone, of course.
First of all, how
well, I actually wanted to call the group the 3 Tenors, TENNERS, and I wanted to charge $30 for anything we did. Records and shows.
Nice. I appreciate the swagger with that bit. That's good.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. So I got that going on. So shows in December, and then can I just bore you with, like, I have another project called the Anyway Gang. Did I talk about that before?
Yeah, please, no, because that's the thing is the last time we went super deep dive in the Sloan catalog, which is great. I'll do all day, every day, twice on Thursdays. But yeah, we didn't talk about any of this stuff. So please talk about it. Yeah.
I have it. So when Tuns put out a record on Royal Mountain Records, there was a guy who ran Royal Mountain Records. One of the guys who runs it was this guy named Menno Versteeg. And he was in a band. He was in a band called Colorado. They played for last 10 years or more, and they kind of wrapped it up this past December. But anyway, so he was saying he wanted me to be in this other super group. I'm like, dude, I'm in like 4 super groups already. And I don't know how super these groups are. Like, these are like, was former members of some other band you never heard of. But anyway, so Menno and I and this guy named David Monks, who's in a group called Tokyo Police Club. This guy, he's younger. He's like 35. I'm 52. And remind me to talk about being 52 in a second. And the other guy's name is Sam Roberts. Sam Roberts is kind of like a bigger star on rock radio up here, and he's a couple years younger than me, but like he was kind of coming up during the aforementioned commercial decline of Sloan, 1999. Anyway, but we're all friends, and we made a record in 2018 that came out in 2019 called Anyway Gang. Anyway Gang is just something that Don Rickles would say as a reset after saying something horrendous. It's like, Anyway Gang. But so we put out a record in 2019, I guess, or is it 18 or 19? Anyway, it doesn't matter. And then more recently we recorded in the past few months, and we have a record that is being mixed right now. And I thought it was going to come out, or a single this year, but probably next year. Anyway, so that's another thing that I have going, and I don't mean to leave behind Sloan. Sloan is recording right now what will be our 13th record, and I'm really happy about it. Yeah.
I'm glad to hear that. That's good. Now, if I remember right, the tourist interruptus that happened because of COVID.
Yes.
I think it was you were doing it was the Navy Blues tour,
Yeah,
right?
yes. So Navy Blues is our fourth album that came out in 1998, and we've been doing we've been reissuing our records as box sets and using that as an excuse to tour, buying ourselves a whole tour without having to write any new material, and now playing some of these songs for the first time since 1998, some for the first time ever, and now since 2006 we've had Gregory McDonald playing dedicated keyboard and whatever needs to be sung that's impossible, touring with us. So now everything, playing these songs now, like it's better than ever, I mean to say.
Yeah, so, and I unfortunately did not get a chance to see you on that tour. I was actually really looking forward to it. Stuff happens though, like pandemics. But it occurred to me, it's like Iggy and Angus. I think that song is fantastic. But like, it was like, oh wow, they're playing that. Well, of course they're playing. They're playing the record. That's kind of that's the conceit of the bit. But like some of those songs weren't necessarily designed to be played live, or have that like. Or even like really, are you even like thinking about them until it's time to like, oh yeah, this one, huh? Oh, interesting.
So whenever we've done 3 of these reissue tours now, and then for any,
right?
We did Twice Removed and One Chord to Another and Navy Blues, and for every record like that, there'll be like 5 songs that we know how to play, 4 songs that we kind of played sometimes, and 3 or 4 that would just like, I have no idea how this goes. Like, who sings this one?
Us? Is this our band?
Yeah. But so that tour got interrupted. Yeah, I think the record that we're making now, I can't see it coming out before a year from now. And hope if there are shows to play in the meantime, hopefully we'll make up some of those Navy Blues shows, all of which I think are in Canada. I think we played everywhere that we play in the States, which is good because I don't know how easy it would be to get there. So
yeah, I think they just like this week reopened the ability to go through the border, like if you have your Vax card and then all that business.
Right.
But I think it was it took until like this week for that to happen.
Well, we haven't been to the States since we released a song called "Silence Trumps Lies." So maybe we'll get kicked out of the country.
Well, yeah.
Although it's designed to not, I basically made it so it's silence trumps lies, meaning it's better to say nothing than to lie.
Right.
So it's not Trump's like Trump apostrophe S. I've already got my fight with the border guard. Like I was like, I don't mention him anywhere. Like I'm basically.
You've got your case locked down before.
Yes, but then he didn't get reelected. But
thank God.
Or did he? But he could come back. I don't know. For everyone.
We were having such a nice time, Chris. Come on.
Well, anyway.
That's a great tune, and I think that came out like the week you were on last time, and I don't think we even talked about it at all.
I think you had some kind of gag order on mentioning it.
God damn it. No, blast right past that. Let's talk more about Navy Blues.
I can't believe that you don't want to talk about the political samba that I wrote.
I like it. It's a good tune. I mean, and it's clever in that way that you explained, because
you can't throw me in jail for it.
Yeah. But, it gets it across.
Well, that's if I were fighting at the border, I was like, it's not about him. It's about people. It's about stupid people who say things when they have no expertise. It's like, whatever. Just.
It reminds me too of like Poster Children, who I like quite a bit. They put out a song called "The Leader" on one of the records. It was when Bush was president.
Yeah.
I remember being like, oh, why didn't they explicitly name that guy as like and then like listening now, it's like, oh, it's way better that they didn't. Because,
right, exactly. It's like my song about Spiro Agnew or whatever.
Yeah,
like,
Reagan.
Who?
Yes, yeah, exactly. But that's exactly it, right? It's gonna not only tie it to a specific time, it's gonna almost immediately date it, hopefully.
Yeah.
Yeah, but getting back to the. Yeah, revisiting this old material, songs that you have maybe you've never tried to play them live, maybe they didn't work live. Maybe they just were eschewed in favor of other songs that work well live. It's kind of like a science experiment almost, is what it seems like.
Yeah, and I know within my own band, like one of the songs you mentioned there, Iggy and Angus, yes, about Iggy and Angus Young, whatever. But, Andrew doesn't like that song. He doesn't want to play that song. But, because we're doing these album shows, like, I don't have to fight with him about the set list. Right. It's like, the set list is what it is. Like, we're not skipping it. So,
well, you tell him Conan Neutron loves that song. And when he goes, who? Just say never mind.
The Conan?
I don't know.
I like doing it because, there are some songs on Navy Blues, Money City Maniacs, Come On, Come On.
Yeah.
Songs that we still play that I get a kick out of contextualizing on the record where they go. And I've been to shows where people have played album shows and stuff like that. And it's fun it's like, what's coming next, and, sequencing, and, the excitement of seeing that with other people who know what's coming next is like, oh, this one. And so Money City Maniacs isn't just like a song that's like in our set list when we play them in summers. It comes between Keep On Thinking and
Keep On. It's paced differently than you probably would in an otherwise normal Sloan set.
Yeah, well, I don't even mean that it's that our sets are on. I just mean like it's just fun to sort of put it back with its bookended songs that precede and follow it, kind of.
Did you find that? And I guess it's true for for Twice Removed. This for all of them. But did you find that? Was there any ones where you're just like, this song, God?
Yeah, I mean, when we did Twice Removed is our most beloved record in Canada. I would say that in the States it's probably one chord to another, but when we were playing Twice Removed, I like it and I'm proud of it. But like as a concert, like it's kind of a bummer. Like it's like a lot of it's kind of dour. In a way, I don't think that people who came to see us were bored or pissed. Like I think they were like, yeah, finally they're not, can it with the histrionics there, Murph. Like just play the song. And I'm like, can we just speed it up here? But so it was, there were some that were just like, oh my God, this one. But and I'm tempted a lot of the time to change the key. It's like, oh my God, I can't sing this in the original key. But then Gregory won't have it. He's like, you're not changing the key. Just blow your voice out and I'll help you.
He's trying to guarantee more work. Is what he's trying to do.
Exactly. Well, so the Navy Blues, for example, starts out with a song called She Says What She Means.
Yep.
And it's high, like it's A. Like my highest musical note would be like a G, maybe G sharp or whatever, eighth. Anyway, getting up to A, it just becomes screamy and awful for me. So I have to flip into falsetto, but Gregory, our keyboard player, he's right there every time. He's like, when do you need me? I'll back you up on any notes that get weak or whatever. Like he's singing the whole time, basically. He sings the whole show.
Whenever you want me, whenever you need me, right?
Yeah, exactly. Very, very good. Which is a lyric from that song. Nice pull. But Gregory's awesome. And Gregory had a record come out on using the Murder Records name last year. He goes by Cola Wars, and he put out a record of kind of like experimental sort of modular synth stuff. It's just not what you think.
Yeah, I've heard it, and it was good. I liked it. I heard it with no context though. That's funny. I didn't realize that was him. That's interesting.
Oh, really? Well, yeah. He also is buds with these other guys in that world. He made a record with a kind of famous character from Swinging London, or who was kind of like attached to the Pretty Things. This guy who goes by the name Twink. Gregory played on his record as Cola Wars. I think maybe it was before he had the Cola Wars name. But anyway, that's kind of what got him going on the sort of like modular synth stuff. And he's more recently he contributed to a record that featured Lee Scratch Perry, like just before he died.
Oh wow, that's wild.
And I should know the name of that thing that he does, but I'm embarrassed that I don't know it. I might casually look it up here while I'm talking to you. So what else is going on?
Like, oh, I'm just looking off in the corner for no specific reason. Nah, yeah, no big deal.
New Age Doom.
Oh, okay. Very nice.
So they made a record, and they have all kinds of cool Lee Scratch Perry visuals. Anyway, and then he literally died like the next day. It's crazy. But anyway, just to say that he did that.
Speaking of Twice Removed, we went over that last time. Coax Me is the statute of limitations on it's not the fans. It's not the band I hate. It's their fans. Has that expired now?
What is it? What's the joke? Like, can anyone use that now, or can I tell what band I was talking about?
Yeah, yeah. More of if it's a is it a pastiche? Is it about a specific band? Is it more of a concept? I like the reason why I bring it up.
Well, the thing is, like, it's probably my most known line. The line is, "It's not the band I hate, it's the fans," and I think a lot of people feel that way. And the thing is, I stole that line from Jay because I heard Jay say that about somebody, and then weirdly, he was talking about Kate Bush. He was talking about Kate Bush fans, or like there was some guy in his school that was just like gaga for Kate Bush and just turned him right off. But I would never have thought of that example. There's a band in Canada called the Tragically Hip. That we're kind of like, if you ask me, kind of like just like a bar band that everyone loves. I never really understood why everyone loved them so much, but the front man, he died a couple of years ago. His name's Gord Downey, and he's like a really beloved guy. Yeah. And they were kind of like this blues rock roadhouse band, kind of, if you ask me. But they really, and their fans were seemingly the worst, like jocks and just like everything backwards, baseball hat, drinking, whatever, just the worst. But they, especially Gord Downey, I think took great pains to make it hard for those guys. Like, they just injected more and more poetry into their act and just confused these guys. And so like, and they remained like, they're kind of the most beloved Canadian band of all time. And by beloved is a word, a secret word that means band that never made it outside of Canada.
It's code, yeah.
Well, I just mean, like, to be beloved, Nickelback is not beloved. They're like a worldwide phenomenon. Sloan is beloved, Tragically Hip are beloved, because, we are allowed to play outside of Canada, but it's, it's to Canadians, to Canadians who live abroad. Yeah. But anyway, the Tragically Hip, I think, at some point acknowledged that they assumed that we were talking about them. It's not the band I hate, it's their fans. Yeah. And I was not, but it definitely applied to them. Yeah. And but then the thing that I remember talking to them or addressing this like in 1996 or whatever, it's like, it's not about them, but yes, it applies. And then, of course, as we were getting big too, we were commercial, and it's like, then it applied to us as much as anybody. It's like we had, you can't control
that. Yeah.
The jerks that show up at your show or whatever. You can try to be, try to make music that will challenge them or whatever. But anyway, I think I like Meathead. I guess I'm one of the assholes that nobody wants at the show. I like Meathead rock music anyway, so.
Well, sure. I mean, we talked, Kiss. It's not exactly, PhD, exactly. But it's great.
No, but anyway, I am a fan of Kiss, and I think that their first couple records, if you took the makeup and all that stuff away, like, I think it's just at least some of it. It's like just power pop music. Yeah. And
I think Rudder isn't a good song. Get out of here. It's a freaking great song.
Yeah, but then whatever. Did I go on about Kiss the last time? Anyway, but then Gene Simmons adopts this sort of demon voice, and it's like oh, I am Dr. Love, or like, I don't, then it gets pretty shit. But anyway, I love the first couple of Kiss records.
Yeah, and it is one of those bands it's difficult to go to war for because you're like, well, there's so much bad stuff associated with it. They're just like, you don't even want to talk about. We're like, yeah, look, I'm not talking about any of that. I'm talking about the fact that, like, they brought the New York Dolls thing to,
America.
not cool places. Yeah,
Yes.
exactly. That's amazing, and they did it with love. As much
Yeah.
as Gene's the consummate capitalist, don't get me wrong, but
I mean, they were driven and all those things that I guess you're not supposed to be. Like if you're, if you want to be loved by Rolling Stone magazine or whatever, like they were not hippies for sure. But whatever. I guess I feel like I have more in common with Gene Simmons than with Johnny Thunders anyway. Whatever. I know that Gene Simmons is awful and all that kind of stuff. And
Yeah.
I ended up thinking that Paul Stanley is the most sympathetic character in the group. He has to put up with Gene's bullshit all the time. He's always kind of like apologizing for Gene, like cleaning up his mess on Instagram. So.
yeah. I was his Instagram is great. Like he was getting into pie baking for a while, and it was.
Oh, I know. It's just like
and you read
hashtag Rolling Stone magazine, hashtag Food Network. Like he's trying to get picked up.
But it's also funny because I came up with a game that I read all of his Instagram posts in the style of his stage. Amazing every time.
Oh wow. Well,
Max Peach Pie, who wants to eat it? Yeah, just like, oh my god, it was made something already life affirming even better for me.
Did I tell you a story that I met Paul Stanley and all that kind of stuff? Did I tell that story?
I don't think so. I don't think you did.
I met him. He was in town doing Phantom of the Opera, and I told you then.
No.
I
I remember when that happened.
I'll keep it brief. I was to see Bad Religion the night before, and I was coming back from the Bad Religion show, I knew that I was going to be. Sorry, I was on a rock radio station one time, and the guy, like the hungry dog, whatever his name was talking. It's like, remember next week we're gonna have Paul Stanley on, and I said to him off air, I was like, can I be at that interview? He's like, yeah, I'm interviewing him down at Tower Records on this date. So they had me come down, and I just happened to be going by Tower Records the night before because I was going to see Bad Religion, and I saw this big lineup of people, of these nerds who wanted to be first in line, and I talked to a bunch of them. And so when I got to the interview the next day, I was like, hey, I didn't know what my role was supposed to be. And we were sitting on a stage in front of a giant airbrush of the Paul Stanley 1978 solo album. And he's probably mortified because he's like, I'm here to talk about Phantom of the Opera. Like, how do I, and all the fans, there's just Kiss fans that want to talk about Kiss. Right?
Yeah. Shocking. Who could have predicted?
And so I'm like, oh, I was here last night, Paul, and I met some of these guys. These people have been in line for like 15 hours. So Gus, do you have a question for Paul? And this guy was like, that I met the night before, he's like, I guess so. Well, everybody knows that Kiss tour hasn't been selling well. Is that why you're doing this? And I was like, oh my Jesus Christ. And so like then Paul, I think, thought that I was trying to set him up to make him look like a jerk. And so he was basically turning away from me and wouldn't talk to me anymore. And I was just like, oh my God, this sucks.
Like, thanks,
anyway,
bro.
it was a nightmare. But and he kind of wet fish shook my hand. Like I wish that I had been more confident, because I think I could have had a better rapport with him. But I was super shy. Like it was whatever.
It's kind of a weird situation too. You said, you don't know what your role is there.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, am I interviewing him? Like, because it was like there was like the interviewer guy from the radio station, then Paul, then me. I was just like, should I ever speak? Like, is anyone ever going to talk to me if I don't speak up myself? Anyway, it was fine, and I ended up kissing his ass or whatever. But whatever. I thought that again, like Conan O'Brien, I was like, are we going to become best friends? And
right. You get the whole scenario mapped out. Like, okay, when we are best friends, here's where we will go for ice cream. Yeah, exactly.
Like, I was like, Paul, can we talk about how like Kiss has the dumbest fans, and like, like I'm not dumb like those people. Like, let's talk about. Well, I don't know. Like, I was going to set myself apart or something like that, but I'm just as dumb as everybody.
You're going to say the one thing that makes them realize that you're a kindred spirit. And
yeah, exactly. You like the raspberries? Like, you like the raspberries, right, Paul? Like, you like Power Pop? What? Yeah. Anyway, he's fine.
Not to pull a Fugazi interview on you, but one thing I did think we got into last time that I think is always bears mentioning, and it was a specific phrase, which is the Sloan being founded in fairness.
Yeah.
And taking the the short-term gain for the longevity and the stakes building and keeping something going. And I found that again, as a listener to my own show, apparently I found that very powerful. So.
Right. Yeah, I like to think that we were founded in fairness, and we all played in other bands, and they all broke up, and we were in a sort of, it was, what do you do in Halifax when you've played 4 shows? And it's like, I guess that's it. Like, I guess I should start looking for another band. Like, we're not going to make records. We're not going to go on tour. Like, what is there to do? But then Nirvana changed the world. And then it was just like, okay, I know that you've all been in like 4 bands in the past 2 years, but now this is your band forever. Like, whoever is in this band. Yeah. So, and a lot of people from our area kind of made a go of it. And, like the Seattle scene, people went from thinking it was fun to play to thinking, well, how come those guys got an opportunity? What about my opportunity? And maybe we should spend some money. Let's go to Toronto and we'll just play, and we'll just get, it just changed from, I liken it to, like, if you play, I don't play golf or something, but like if you play golf and you're terrible and you like keep missing, and then finally you hit one and it's like, all right. As opposed to once you get good, then you're hitting them all the time, and then if you miss one, it's like, fuck.
Yeah.
Like,
right. Yeah. Exactly.
It's like, so we were like, we were just happy to get a hit and get, hit the ball once it. So, but it just changed the attitude of everyone in Halifax. I don't mean to say that everyone became like a money grubbing jerk or whatever, but it's just like, once people's eyes are open to possibility, then it just, kind of wrecks it and all that kind of stuff that everybody from the punk rock scene knows, you know what I mean? Like, yeah, goes from being a cool thing. It was cooler before and all that kind of stuff. I play in I don't really play anymore, but I played it for like 20 years in a kind of arts hockey league. Did I bore you with those shows before?
So it's like with so by nature of the description, I would say, is that like a hockey league that's like with artsy fartsy types?
Yeah, so like people from bands, but like people who work at Exclaim magazine, or like,
sure,
and probably some people in the music business and stuff like that. But even that, so that started out with like a couple of teams. Then there were 6 teams, and it just had the exact same story of the punk scene. These people were all kind of from punk backgrounds and all that kind of stuff. And then new teams started joining that were better hockey players than these. We were happy because we were like, it was co-ed and safe, and like, everybody, we all played hockey as kids, but we all quit because of the jerks that played hockey and knock you over or whatever. So I was like, no, this is going to be, it's co-ed, it's cool, it's community, you'll know everybody. And then different teams started joining. It's like, well, I don't know that guy. Well, he was pushy. And they scored too many goals. Like they don't get it. They don't get what we're doing here. And then, and so then I found myself politically. So then the league was growing, and there was a tournament at Easter, and there were like 35 teams or something. They came from all over Canada. It was really fun. But then one year, like the original 6 teams left. They were like, this is way too big. There's more propensity for violence and misunderstanding when you don't know the people. Yeah, and I understood all that stuff, but I also thought that they were kind of being babies about it because they couldn't win a hockey game anymore because they sucked, which is fine. There's a whole off-ice element to this league where you had to like do a hootenanny and all that kind of stuff. Like, I didn't even care about the on-ice stuff. I just liked meeting people and all that kind of stuff. Anyway, so my team quit. You were just
like, as opposed to every reality show ever.
My team quit, and I defected. I guess I was like, I don't want to go and just be looking at the same people we've always known. Like, some of these new teams and the hootenannies they do are upping the game to all that. Like, it's so fun and creative and smart. It's like like have you guys already met everyone you ever wanted to know? Like, there are other cool people and there are other shitty people. Anyway, I just politically wanted to be a part. I was pro expansion, and I was pro letting more people try to get it. And I continued to give a hard time to people. I would chastise people who just come in and, play Tom Petty covers and like, do something more fun, God damn it. So, we would do things like our team would, did I brag about this before? Like our great acts, like we did a thing where we played, the pinnacle of our thing was either Andrew Lloyd Webber's Stray Cats, where we dressed as the Cats musical and played rockabilly.
Yeah, I know, I got it immediately and I love it. Yeah.
Or we did another one where I took Sabbath songs and made ABBA, like sung ABBA songs over Sabbath riffs, and we called it Black ABBA. But if we were to do it in the future, I think I would call it Sabbath ABBA, because calling it Black ABBA makes it sound like maybe you're in blackface or something. It's just like black people do it. It has nothing to do with black people or like soul music versions of. Anyway, I just thought it was misleading and potentially get me in shit.
Also sounds like delicious candy too.
Yes. So anyway, but that was awesome. Like and there was like a Sudbury team that came every year with the coolest guys. And like when you live in Sudbury, Ontario, you've got nothing to do all year. So they just like rehearsed this act, and they came down and they just made the whole club or whatever, dressed it up like it was like the Millennium Falcon, and they'd all dress as Star Wars, and then they play all Genesis songs, which is just crazy, whatever. It was just fun. And some people thought that I was, had an unfair advantage off ice work because I'm a professional musician, where it was like, I was not into professionalism. I was just into like taking a chance or being silly. And, people who get up and it's like, we're just going to play Ramon songs. It's like, yeah, okay, whatever. We've been doing that for 15 years. Like, do something more interesting. Anyway, I love the Ramones. Nothing against the Ramones. But anyway, so Hockey League. Are you wondering what else we've done? Yeah, well, we did a Bay City Rollers and Sweet reunion. We did a dating game show. We did a Bee Gees first show after Maurice died, and then so it was just like Barry and Robin, and then the recently deceased body of Maurice was brought out, but then he, like Weekend at Bernie's, was revived through the power of music, and then Andy Gibb came alive too. Anyway, we've had some good laughs doing that. Anyway, that's.
Did you see the Bee Gees documentary that came out?
Yes, that was fantastic. That was fantastic.
I enjoyed it. I do find it funny that they completely omitted the whole Sgt. Pepper's thing, where it's like, oh, you're just
right.
You talk about that? Okay. I guess you needed involvement from everyone.
They didn't even joke about it? Did they not?
No. It was like, oh yeah, and this happened like for like 5 seconds, and then like, wait, it's all okay. I can name a couple other documentaries like that, by the way. Maybe wouldn't be very nice of me to do so, but we're just like, oh, here's this whole span. You didn't do anything that time. Oh, wait, no, you. That's right. But I otherwise enjoy.
Are you talking about music groups?
Yeah.
Should I start guessing? You don't want to get into it.
No, let's wait for the post game for that. I got a show to run, sir.
Understood.
But I did like them because I'm a big fan of of all the early, Blue-Eyed Soul Bee Gees stuff. And I think it's kind of criminal how people don't even understand it's a thing and be like, oh yeah, I started a joke. Is.
Oh yeah, I certainly do. And I mean, whatever. I like all the disco stuff fine. Like as a kid, you weren't allowed to like the Bee Gees and Sex Pistols or whatever, but like, now you're allowed to like whatever. Jay Ferguson from Sloan, it's his birthday, just mention him again. Like Barry Gibb is his absolute hero. Like it's not a guilty pleasure to him. It's just like, that's my number one favorite writer.
I came away with even a greater appreciation of the musicality and writing after watching that documentary. And
he's unbelievable. They're great singers too, but Barry's writing is just it's crazy. Like even the stuff that he wrote for other people, like it's unbelievable.
Yeah, my one critique is just like come on, you're not even gonna like make a joke about it or something. Come on, like this, you're just gonna omit that. All right, fine. But the most glaring omission, I think, is that Big Star one where it's like, there's something you're missing out here, and then it was like, oh, his like very religious parents had to sign off on it too. It's like, oh, I get it.
I don't even know those details. Like, is who Alex Chilton?
No, not Alex Chilton. Chris Bell's.
He's like super religious.
His family was, and like they didn't want to hear about.
Oh, he like took his own life or something.
Yeah, and like they didn't want any aspersions to his sexuality and this.
Okay, all right.
And okay, to get all those great family photos when he was a kid, like they had a certain tact.
They had to play ball. Well, I think of that when I watch like the Rush documentary. Like it's kind of a puff piece. Like not a bad word is said about anything. Like it's just like then we had fun doing this, and this was a great. Like I think those guys were like Neil Peart, who is dead. So I want to speak ill of anyone. Like he's just seemed like a kind of high functioning autistic man. Like I just like, but
and anyway. He goes on his motorcycle for a while. But he also he lost his wife and daughter within the space of like his mind exploded. Like I think that's fucking crazy. I didn't know any of that. And I was like, oh wow, this is heartbreaking.
I'm a huge fan. Like I brag about how punk they were last time. I think they're the punkest Canadian band ever.
I think you said that they were the best Canadian band. Then we decided Sloan was second and No Means No was third.
Right. Okay. Well, I mean, yes. I when I saw No Means No for the first time in 1986, my mind it's just splattered on the wall. Like it was just.
Pretty good.
Because I don't think I even had heard of them. Like I drove to Montreal to see shows. I went specifically to see the Descendants, and Dag Nasty opened. I didn't know what they were, and I blew my mind, and I saw No Means No, and I was like, oh my God. And then the other kind of fun thing that I saw that you wouldn't know these guys specifically, but there was a group called Capitalist Alienation, which sounds like fake punk band that'd be on Quincy or something.
That seems like those SNL bits where Fred Armisen's in the fake punk rock.
Exactly. Yeah. The what was the wedding at that fist fight in the parking lot? It was like like Kadena and like Norton or whatever.
Yeah. Oh God, I can't remember the band name, but it was that was great. I laughed. But
the names of at the wedding. It was the Norton Kadena wedding or whatever.
I that sounds right. Yeah.
I think that anyway. Fist Fight in the Parking Lot was the song. But anyway, Capitalist Alienation. So it's 86, so I'm in grade 12 or just after grade 12. And it's super punk and French punk, like everybody like studs and Liberty Spikes and just crazy.
Crisis of Conformity, by the way.
What's that?
Crisis of Conformity.
Oh, what's it?
Which is pretty awesome, I gotta say.
I have a text thread with Jay and another guy where we just every band like that we see. Jay calls every hardcore band Situation Bad. Like basically that's basically the gist of every. Anyway, I don't think I have any on hand here. Anyway, I love those. Crisis of Conformity is excellent.
That's a rare case where you don't remember something and it's better than what you remember it. Like it's like, oh yeah, that's great. That's sorry. So the last band that they texted around was like, one was called Generic Shit, one is called Attack Mode. Anyway, I guess it's not that funny. I can name a few, but again, maybe we'll save it for now on the air.
All right. Okay. Sorry.
I don't want any feelings too.
Well, the Jello Biafra, the one what is it? The Guantanamo School of Medicine. Anyway, that's pretty funny.
I actually saw I saw one of the first Guantanamo School of Medicine shows when Billy Gould was playing bass for them.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it was great. And I didn't know, it was before they recorded any records or like he played like the first 4 or 5 shows, and then Faith No More kind of got back together.
Right.
And started doing that because obviously that's a big payday and kind of a big deal. But yeah, it was great. I mean, it was like, oh, Jelly Alpha's got a new band. Oh, cool, right on. And it was like, oh, it's got this guy Ralph Spite, who played in I guess they're kind of back a little bit, but Victims Family, just a real, non-Euclidean geometry guitar player, and really able to nail the East Bay Wraith, in a way that it isn't just like cover band nailing it, like real, like, oh yeah, you're like a really unique, cool guitar player. That was good. I enjoyed it. It's got a couple stories about that, but anyway, that's not about me.
Whatever, I got it.
So going to these shows to see in Montreal, you saw No Means No.
So No Means No. They started off a 2-piece, I guess, but they were 3-piece at the time. And the record they had out was called You Kill Me, and it was unbelievable. It was so crazy. I still have a poster in my room in my little office I have upstairs, like a giant poster from that show, the guy hanging and saying You Kill Me. Anyway, that changed my life. And then I went home and started a band with Jay, and he's trying to play basically REM music, and I'm trying to play No Means No, drums over top of it. And I'm just ruining every song. I have recordings of it, and he's like,
great, by the way. But
anyway, I'm embarrassed now to think of it. Like, I wish that I had just like paid a little bit more attention to servicing the songs. I was just like jerking off all over it. Anyway, but the Wright brothers, unbelievable. No Means No.
So knowing full well that there are some like Sloan, like punk rock covers and things like that, how do you approach doing any kind of cover song for a band that like has such a wide and vast catalog? So many, it's a good thing your songs tend to be shorter because you can fit more of them into a set, right? Like they tend to like not stay too long, except for like maybe like some of the earlier ones. But I always appreciate the fact that it's like, oh no, you understand like where you came from musically, and there's homages occasionally that pop up now and then to it that people that don't have that frame of reference may not understand.
Well, we in 2012 we did a 7-inch of 2 hardcore originals in quote. I don't know how original they were, but using the template of the sort of 80s American hardcore kind of thing. And my song was actually from 1988. It was from the hardcore band that I was in 1988 called Spent. But Patrick wrote a new song. We did a 7-inch. The hard part about performing hardcore stuff, like, or pulling it out, is like I usually have to play the drums on those recordings. Right. But I would also I'm like Patrick and I were full on into hardcore, and I would describe Andrew and Jay as their game to do it. Yeah. Like when we did these 2 songs, we did 12 like digital only add-on covers. So we covered like the Angry Simones and Minor Threat and Black Flag and Descendants and Bad Religion and the Nils and Gray Matter. Anyway, so Jay, like the most hardcore that Jay could get was Gray Matter, which is basically just kind of a rock band. That's like DC kind of 85, 86, 87. I love them. I love Gray Matter. And that was kind of my whole thing, is like the discord from between 85 and 88, Bright to Spring, Gray Matter. Basically emo music, I guess, but like all that kind of, everything leading up until Fugazi, all that sort of
redefined.
Beefeater, King Face. Would you have ever heard King Face?
No.
I don't think they were actually on Discord. They were kind of Soul Side. Do you remember a band called Soul Side?
I just had Johnny Temple on the show. From Girls
Which guy is he? Okay.
So he's the bass player, but like Soul Side. Yeah,
he was the bass player in Soul Side.
Yeah.
Okay, so he ended up in Girls Can Sports.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. Well, Soul Side, I think the singer I think the singer is the brother of a guy who's in King Face. They were kind of like they were like Van Halen, like they were like full on kind of metal band.
Really?
We loved them. Like my band called Spent, like our reference points was all that Dag Nasty, Right to Spring, Beefeater, all that kind of stuff. and Kingface, that record, it was just like a black record that had like a little tiny sticker in the corner of like a heart with wings on it or something. We loved it. I don't know. I haven't looked it up. It's probably...
That's I honestly got to say I'm not that familiar, but that sounds great. It sounds like a product for me, so I'll check it out.
Anyway, I forget what thread I'm on right now. But anyway, so Sloan, I'm the hardcore fan, and Patrick, and so. But if I'm going to play drums, like I kind of want to be singing like, and so Jay did this Gray Matter song, which is not really hardcore, and Andrew did a couple of Angry Simone songs, which are just kind of silly, basically. I loved that. I loved Back from Samoa and Right Side on My Brain. I love those records too. They're obviously kind of like contrarian, whatever, hardcore baiting music critics or whatever they were.
Yeah, I mean they're very. It's bratty. It's bratty music.
Bratty, exactly.
That's the It's not meant to be taken especially seriously, but that doesn't mean it's a joke necessarily.
And there's some offensive stuff that they get into. And they have a song called "The Battle of Jerry Curlin." Like, do you know that one?
No, which one?
It's Angry Simone's. It's it's just like, it starts out, Jerry Curlin is nice, has lots of friends in Washington, and then it goes like, eats shits, sucks assholes. Like, it's just the most foul mouthed stuff. And but I can't even say all the stuff that it said, and it's super offensive. But I wrote that all out in my handwriting, and it's like, oh, this is so funny. And then my parents found that.
Oh no!
They didn't know that. They just thought it was like my poetry or my thoughts or whatever. And they're just like, what the fuck is wrong with you?
Do we have to take the therapy? Yeah.
Yes, they just couldn't believe it because it was so offensive. Again, I can't even. But anyway, I still love the Angry Simone's, those two records a lot. I think they continued for a while. I didn't follow them, but I loved them a lot.
We dived pretty deep in the Sloan discography last time. I don't remember if we talked about the Hit and Run EP though. And I think that's kind of interesting. I think I might have blasted past that.
We did an EP in 2009, I guess, called Hit and Run, and it was called Hit and Run because I got hit by a car while I was on my bike and knocked unconscious. It was late at night. Jay was DJing, and I had a kid then, or I have a kid still. I have two kids. I had a kid, and for some reason they were away, so I was out late because it wasn't normal for me to be out till late. Anyway, I went out. I think we were recording hardcore stuff at that time. Wait, what year is that? 2009. I think I was recording. I think we recorded some hardcore stuff and it didn't come out for a couple of years. Anyway, after I did that, I went down to see Jay DJ, hung out with him for a while, then got on my bike and was immediately hit by a car, and the car took off. So, but somebody got the license plate and the person was identified and all that kind of stuff. I was not involved with their punishment. Like, I hope they got in shit, I guess, because I think whatever, you leave the scene of the crime. Late at night, I think the chances are everybody's got alcohol in their system. Everybody except me. But yeah, so I got hit, and then and we put out that became the name of our Hit and Run thing. Came out between Parallel Play and our Double Cross records. So it was fun to have. It was just a digital only thing. It was just kind of an experiment because people were putting out digital records, or just like you get a download card and that's it. And then eventually, a couple of years ago, we put it out. We put the vinyl of that out.
Yeah, you say there's a record of eventually, right? Yeah, but
So we've done our discography like the Beatles, in that any non-album tracks we don't reissue with like we don't reissue. We do elaborate reissues with demos and outtakes.
Yeah.
But then we have a sort of the equivalent of the Beatles past masters, where all of their non-album tracks are our chronological collection of their non-album tracks. So mostly singles, but occasionally like EPs and stuff like that. Our EPs, we have a Peppermint EP that came out in 1992, and the Hit and Run EP that came out in 2009 or whatever it was. So those are not included in our what I'm calling our past masters, but our past masters is called B-sides and extra tracks volumes. 1 and 2 are out on vinyl. We hope to eventually have 4 volumes. We have 3 complete volumes, and then we're into volume 4. So I'd like to continue to add to our non-album track thing so that we can have a 4th B-sides volume. Anyway, that's kind of boring stuff. But I'm still into adding to our body of work. We have, as I say, a new record. We have more than enough songs for a record, so like some will go for something else, and they'll be on this B-sides thing. And I'm happily, I don't know if we'll ever get to like a 4th volume of non-album tracks, but we're on track to get 4, and I don't know, it makes me happy to have to continue. And there aren't that many groups that are making 13th records and having them be good. It's literally, you're talking about, I mean, there are lots of people who did it, I guess in the 70s, and lots of jazz artists or whatever.
Yeah.
And like Sonic Youth, do they have 25 records? Like I don't know.
They might, but there's definitely a few stinkers.
Yeah.
There's some more coming up next week.
I know. I think
there's a couple.
I said too many negative things about Sonic Youth last time, but I don't have anything against them. Like I think that they're important.
Oh, and the great records too. Fantastic records. Great songs.
I saw them. So I did a couple of pilgrimages to Washington, D.C. I did one in 87 and 88. I don't know if I bragged about that. I brag about it every time it's my biggest cred story, basically. It's like I went and met Ian MacKaye. Anyway, but I saw Sonic Youth at that time, and they did nothing for me. Like I did not understand. I was like a dogmatic hardcore punk.
Was that with what Evil era?
Probably like Evil, yeah.
Yeah.
I guess so. And I saw them in DC, and it was cool. Like it was like it was out there, but I wasn't humming those songs for days or anything. But
I saw the X play with Fugazi, and I was so excited to see Fugazi that I really just it didn't really matter who was playing. Like I wasn't ready to hear new music that was not Fugazi at that time. And then later on I was like, wait, I saw them. And I was like, oh, this band's amazing. Like, how did I not pick up in this band? I was like, oh, you were just that interested in seeing your favorite band at the time is what it was.
Well, I saw seeing Fugazi changed my life too, because I went from I was it was all that sort of, as I said, Dagnassi and all that kind of basically sort of softer. It wasn't like the first wave of hardcore, but it was a little bit more emo and stuff like that. But Fugazi were just so I saw them in summer the 88, and they weren't that far along. They were new. I don't think I had the record yet. Maybe I came home with the record, but I saw them in DC. And it just blew my mind. It's changed my work, changed my life. And I came home and then I was playing drums, and I played in a sort of hardcore band, but then I was playing in a band with Jay, like a 3-piece band where I was the drummer, kind of like Tuns, but and it was called Carney Lake Road. It had a terrible name, but yeah, where I had been sort of trying to do No Means No, then I was doing Brendan Canty and
right.
And but whatever, I still hold the first couple of Fugazi records, they're just tops. And I guess they were great. They were great, I guess, all the way through. But I didn't really follow all the way through. I should probably go back a bit.
Never made a bad record, and that's sort of the. We actually accidentally came back to a thing that I want to talk about. The fact that with Sloan, being the same lineup. I think there's I don't know if it's a game so much as an exercise where it's name a great band that has had more than 4 records, same lineup, and there isn't one that's terrible. Right. Or bad, right? And it's a small group. It's a smaller group than you think it is.
No, I know exactly who it is, but I would put it the record. I would put it at more 8 or 10 records. There's still a bunch of people who have I don't know how many there are, but the Pixies have 5. But I don't know how many records the Clash have. 6.
Yeah, but are you counting Cut the Crap? I mean,
I don't count that.
That's been decanonized. that's like the new Halloween, the one that came out in 2018, and the
Like
new one.
they don't like when they just ignore.
Yeah, there's like
one-
those sequels didn't happen. None of that happened. It's the first movie.
I love that.
Which is
John Carpenter's cut the cap.
Yeah, exactly. But I would put Fugazi in that category because I mean that's I.
How many records do they have? Do they have 10 or 9?
No, I think that 6, 7.
Okay, not that.
Well, it depends on how we counted the first one because what's counted is the first,
It's the first 2 EPs together.
Margin Walker and
just that red thing, whatever. They're together on one, I think.
Right. So if you consider that to be one record, then okay. So there's that one. There's Repeater, Say Dad Nothing, and on the Kill Taker, Red Medicine, End Hits, Argument. 7. Yeah.
Okay. Well, that's a pretty perfect run.
And on some days, I think The Argument is my favorite record of theirs, which is their last record. Well, maybe it's not the last record, but it's the last record that they put out. And that's great.
I guess I felt that. I don't know what I felt like. I don't know. I guess I felt too goofy to keep listening or something, or I imposed there was like a humorlessness to Fugazi to me. Like I was just like, it's just not fun. Like I loved first 2 EPs and then I loved Repeater, and then I don't think I really go past that. Like I think I had enough or whatever, or I don't know what I was into at the time. I was into like My Bloody Valentine and stuff like that after that. But anyway, I would bow down to Fugazi as like one of the great, if not the greatest American band, like unbeatable.
Well, and I think that they, the model that they operate off of as well. We talked about that a little bit last time too. REM kind of did the same thing, like building with each other. But
REM obviously. They would have had to do a lot more crappy stuff that they didn't want to in order to get as far as they did that Fugazi never had to do.
Right.
And I think, and I maybe we talked last time, but like I always imagined that ethics and stuff like that became very boring for Fugazi to talk about. And I'm sure they're just like, ask me about the funky bass line. Like, just like, I don't talk about being vegan. Like, I don't give a shit.
Right, yeah. I think that's in that documentary, which I own, but it's only in VHS and I don't have a VCR.
Yeah, I think that they're probably really funny guys too. Like I guess I think of them as being, singing songs about, whatever. I shouldn't say anything for the risk of, just talking about like the plight of women or women being, sexually assaulted or something. It's like powerful, great, do it, but it's like I'm not going to sing about that. Like I wouldn't want to say the wrong thing, and like I don't need to speak for. Far be it from me to say anything. Anyway, but it just became a little bit. I don't know. I feel a little bit guilty about it because I met Ian MacKay, my fucking hero, and anyway, I'm just embarrassed maybe that I don't know more about the records later. But I'm happy to hear that they're as good as the first ones that I love very much.
They're still there for you, Chris. You can still listen.
Well, I mean, I know. Well, this speaks to the idea of having a giant catalog. Ours is bigger than Fugazi's. Like if you're hearing now finally somebody saying, "Oh, Sloan, I should check them out." 13 records. I'm like, Jesus, I'm not going to do that. Like it just seemed it's too much of a giant bran muffin to eat. It's just like I'm not doing that.
A daunting task.
Daunting, and then as the world becomes less and less able to concentrate for, what I mean, like we're from another time, like trying to add to this body of work. It's like I do it because I love it and because it's what I want to do, and I'm in a band, but I'm also like a fan of bands. I'm just like, what would I want my favorite band to do, basically.
Yeah, it's not that you're even in competition with anything else. That you almost become in competition with yourself.
Sure.
What else can we do? What about?
Well, now we have more records than the Beatles, so we're better than them. So who else is there? How many did the Stones have? Jesus.
Yeah, too many.
Too many. Yeah.
Not to be a dick, but too many. Keith Richards coming up this week. Oh, did you see that Rick Rubin fucking around with Paul McCartney
I did see that. Did you see it?
I did, yeah.
So are you a Beatles expert?
It might be able to. I mean, I know a lot about the Beatles.
I did get a huge charge out of that because I felt like, is Rick Rubin being coy? Like, does he really not know? He's
really
like,
not.
It's like, did your father like music? I'm like, are you fucking kidding me?
Yeah, this fucking.
But I thought it was funny for all of the stuff. Like, clearly McCartney, like, they're talking about something, George's masterpiece.
Yeah.
Which I would say that Paul was a big part of, but like, and Rick Rubin's talking about the bass line. Listen, the bass line on this one, and Paul's like, oh yeah, I guess so. It's like, are you telling me that? Anyway, it just seems like Paul's like, talk about my bass playing on something, and then he's like, oh, I guess. And then they bring out, what song was it? Like Another Girl from Help. It's just like, who played the guitar solo on that? It's like, oh, I guess I did. It's like, everybody knows you did. Anyway.
Oh, yeah. Oh, that's. What you want me to play? Oh, I get.
Oh, okay. I guess I played that. I was playing guitar back as early as Help. Yeah, I guess I did. It's like, it just seems so hilarious that.
Get it? We get it.
Like,
yeah. Overall, it was. There were moments of complete absurdity.
But they clearly had multi-tracks. But like, they clearly didn't say things like they were playing "Come Together" because it has a cool bass line. But they didn't talk about the fact that he's saying off the top, he's saying "Shoot Me." Like, they didn't say, let's isolate that. Let's hear John Lennon saying "Shoot Me." Like, they could have, like, or maybe they did, but like, I'm sure they cut that pretty quick. It's like, I'm not fucking talking about that.
Well, I think stuff like that's super interesting, especially for folks that have never been in a band and like heard like, hey, just isolate that. Let's hear, like, then when you hear it and it's like that. Oh my God, it's that song. That's kind of cool in and of itself, right?
Oh yeah, no, I watched it. I love anything Beatles. Like, I'll watch any of that stuff. I just thought a couple of the musical cuts were funny, like they're talking about.
Yeah. It was like, come on, really? Okay.
But I also think because I'm a McCartney apologist, whereas I think that a lot of people shit on McCartney, because he's still alive and has aged, and his partner died a martyr at age 40 or whatever. But I think Paul McCartney is fantastic. I think that he added to John's songs in a way that John wasn't that interested in adding to Paul's songs. Like, Paul is the magic, and Paul is Beatles production and all that kind of stuff that the records of everybody else kind of lacked after the Beatles, but Paul was able to apply it to his own. He's just a musical genius. But
it worked. Have to admit, it's getting better all the time. Can't get much worse. That's great.
That's a great Lennon ad for sure. Lennon is great too, and I think also to talk about them separately is pointless too. It's like, what do you like better? What part of the Oreo do you like better? It's like, well, I don't know. Their combination is the thing that was special. But I do think that something, even though I don't mean to take it away from George, but I think that John was less present at that point, and Paul finally basically applied all of the magic to a song of George's that he would normally apply to John's. And it's like, guess what? That's a masterpiece too.
Yeah, that's great.
At that, and Here Comes the Sun, it's got all that McCartney stuff all over it. Anyway, George is fine, but I think of George as such a sourpuss. But
it was clear you're not thinking of the "Got My Mind Set on You" video.
That's a classic. Now, can I just say did I mention Roy Orbison being 52 years old? I think of when think of the Anyway Gang, this other group that I play with, we joke that we're like the modern day Wilburys or whatever. And I've come to realize that Roy Orbison, if you picture Roy Orbison, like, it looked like he got pretty old, but I'm 52. Like, he died at 52. Like, if you see a picture of Roy Orbison, he was not older than I am right now. And wow. I always thought he looked 100.
Yeah, but, like at 30, he looked like he was in his 60s.
Yeah, so like when the Wilburys were, it's like Roy Orbison was 52, Bob Dylan was 47, I think Tom Petty was 37, and what's his name? George Harrison was like 45 or something like that. Anyway, like, I'm the Roy Orbison guy. This is Roy Orbison when he died. Anyway, that's how old I am, and I just have to accept that.
Quite the metric, Chris.
But I had a Tuns record come out this year, Anyway Gang record recorded,
Yeah.
Sloan record coming out. I'm still making more music now than I ever did. So I'm happy as a clam, and I feel extremely fortunate to be in the position I am. I know a lot of my musician friends who were excellent, who just couldn't make a go of it and are in their shitty job now. And I feel very fortunate to be where I am. Don't get me wrong.
Do you guys know what you're going to call the next one? The new Sloan record that is in flight, or?
I have some good ideas. I don't know if I should tell you or not. Do you want me to tell you my good ideas?
Hey, I'll always break news, and the problem is if you get them out in the air, someone could steal them.
I know, that's what I don't want to do. And I also feel like if I say anything, it'll mean that they won't. I'll tell you off air.
Okay, right.
I'm still politicking to get these things. I want my way. But, I'm not the boss, so I have to say, what if we did this? It's like, did you say that? You said we're calling it that? I'm not calling you. Vote against me. Anyway.
Everything's political, yeah.
Yes.
You got another solo show coming up, and that's on the internet.
Yes, so I did. I did 5 solo shows live, mind you, and then Jay did a pre-recorded show, and I kind of laughed in his face. I was just like, dude, it just makes it look like you can't cut it or whatever. Anyway, but he made it really nice. He had little title cards with a nice font, and like he just made it into like a TV show basically. So he did a really nice job. So I was like, oh, maybe I should do that too. So I just went and sort of so mine's a pre-record too. It's going to be broadcast on October 24th. But I just went to the park and just sang songs in different locations in the park and just whatever. That's the whole show kind of thing. But I think it looks nice, and I had to do a couple of takes of each song. Sometimes I did take one, but I put Jay's together. Like he sent me the video, and I had to he had the audio, and I had to match that up to the video. And like there were somewhere he was just like, okay, yeah, take 11. I'm like, take 11? How long did this take you? I didn't do take 11, but I probably did a couple of take 5s.
Yeah.
But anyway.
Well, I like I said, I quite enjoyed all the ones, the other ones. I like the bringing people on stage.
Yeah, I mean, I was kind of getting tired of that after a while, but like I understand that it's fun for people to sort of interact, and I always like to interact. Like I'm fine, like I'm fast on my feet, or like I don't feel nervous to talk to anybody, or I don't feel like someone's going to say like whatever.
Holocaust was real. No.
Yeah, exactly. Like everyone means well, and everyone's lovely. But so I will participate like Jay did. So I'm copying Jay. It's his birthday, by the way. Did I mention that? Yeah. I know I did. So I'll participate in the live chat, but it's also experiment because I want to be able to leave it live for a couple of days to see if I can get a couple more people to see it that way, because maybe not everybody is free Sunday at 5.
Yeah. Well, and it's also and I'm such a harsh critic of those things, but it's always like you want to hope that when you bring people on, it's such a wild card. You're like, I hope you have something to say, and you can say it succinctly.
Oh no, they never do. It's always the worst. Remember me? I brought my kid to a show. It was 11 p.m. It's like, yeah, and you were just like, my kid wants to be on the bus. So get out of here. It's like, take your kid home and put him to bed. I'm calling child services.
Yeah, and that can be a little hard for me. Where, like I'm not trying to say like I'm any great shakes or anything along those lines, but like I'm pretty quick on my feet. I do a show where I talk. Hey, like I know how to get in.
Yes.
And then we're done. We're not going to hang out. All right. Okay. Maybe I'm going to play a song now. Okay, cool.
The shows I have done, I did through like a service or whatever it's called, a platform called Side Door, that have been great to me. They sort of changed my life. Like they gave me this opportunity. They helped me do these shows, and they didn't, they take a little bit of the money, but I got most of the money, and they encouraged me to do it. And now I have this other muscle that I can, as I say, like I never really wanted to see people play acoustic confessional. I'm just like, boo. but like whatever. If I inject stories and stuff like that, like I think it's somewhat fun, and and the people that are interested in Sloan are, they're older. Like maybe they don't want to hear me screaming my head off with a loud band, or maybe they're fine with that, but maybe they wouldn't mind seeing me in a different context. My other joke about the fact that I'm talking to older people is it's an idea to cover Rock and Roll High School, but we call it Rock and Roll Staff Room. So like it's us playing like the Ramones in the school, but like no one giving a shit that we're playing Rock and Roll Staff Room. And then and so we're playing around the school, and everybody's like, "What the fuck is this?" And then we finally kick open the staff room, and then there's a party in the staff room. Kind of thing.
Nice. That by the way, that also ties into Halloween, because PJ Souls, aka Riff Randall, is also in the original.
That's right. That's exactly right.
And she does the voice of, because they're not on camera, of one of the teachers in the Halloween 2018.
Oh, does she really?
Yeah. And I was like, that's Riff Randall. Like I just immediately, without even like seeing her, I was like, I know who that is.
Do you know one more PJ Souls movie for $10?
Oh God. I'm drawing a blank. I can only think of those.
I think she was in Stripes, I think.
Yeah, I saw Stripes last week. Of course. Yeah. Fuck. Oh my God. I'm a co-host on a.
Sorry to make you so angry.
Oh no, that's so dumb, because I was like, hey, this movie kind of holds up. And there was like a few moments where I'm like, oh, that's kind of a bummer. But
I know. I'm dying to sort of like show my 14-year-old Stripes, but I'm just like, how many like full frontal nudity, unnecessary scenes are in there? Yeah,
it's pretty. I don't know. Like, yeah, it's everything you remembered and more. Let's put it that way. Chris Murphy, this has been fantastic, man. It's great to have you back.
Thank you so much for having me on the first time and this time. And if I did any repeat stories, I'm sorry, but I'll start thinking if we should do it once a year, and I'll try and think of different jokes for next year.
There you go.
And I didn't do any of my Bell's palsy jokes, but maybe I shouldn't be doing those, because some people's lives have probably been destroyed by Bell's palsy. So but I do have a couple of jokes. I was writing a whole stand-up routine about them. But Bell's palsy, of course, the B and the P. It's the cruelest thing you can call the thing. This is Bell's palsy. It's the hardest thing to say is Bell's palsy. Anyway,
God damn it, that's rough, but that's the humor of our age now, right? Like we are in the age where screw it, Bell's palsy humor. Sure, it is kind of, it's hard for me to. I had a speech impediment as a child, believe it or not. So yeah, it's hard for me to say generally.
To say what the word generally? What are you saying?
Bell's palsy is just kind of to say. You're right. Like
yes,
it's.
I was in speech. I had to go to speech therapy in school too. I said like esh, krish.
My thing, surprising exactly nobody. I always spoke too quickly. Like I was thinking so fast and trying to get it out, and then people would be like, "Slow down! What do you?" So I had to.
Is that a speech problem, or is it just because you're like basically your brain is acting faster than your mouth or whatever?
It's a speech problem if you talk too fast that people don't understand you. So sometimes, especially, I'll take it down real slow.
Okay.
Because I'm thinking about it, and then I still think about it. And obviously, it's not like how it used to be, but yeah. Anyway, speech impediments. Am I right?
Am I right, kids? Thank you for having me, and we'll wrap it up here. You're awesome. Yep. Talk to you again.
Sloan show's coming up. Solo show coming up. Go get it, Chris. Thanks so much, man.
Thanks, man.
Fantastic.
Can I tell you all my off-color jokes now?
Yeah. Please, let me make sure. Make sure there's not a hot mic moment here. Okay, good. We're good.
My big joke for the name that I want to call the album, which I think is so funny, is The Battle of the Band.
That's pretty good.
I think it's funny. Like I think it really applies to it. It's nothing specific about this group of songs or anything, but it's just whatever. It's just like so hard to get everybody to show up and all that kind of stuff.
Well, I don't think I've seen that before either. Like that's so many album titles.
Right.
You're like, oh yeah, remember when this some shitty punk rock band you don't care about did that or whatever.
Well, I didn't even Google it, but
I don't think I've seen it.
I think it's pretty funny. And the other one is I have a song called Magical Thinking, like about people like whatever who try to just like wish things into existence, basically making fun of prayer or whatever, like these kinds of things. So I think Magical Thinking would be funny because when we tour, like our crew often dress up in kind of costume. But I just think it would be a chance for us to do magic at our shows.
Oh my God. That's awesome.
To sort of start the show off with like a magic trick. I just think that would be so fucking funny. Anyway.
Why wouldn't you? Why would you? There's a guy I know who plays drums in this excellent band called the Cell Phones. Really, really great. Great drummer, like real kind of like can do that, that like real like fast but like nice groove. He's a stage magician as well.
Oh, really?
Like, and like makes like pretty decent money at it. And like I did a birthday show a couple years back, and I had him be one of the acts, and it like killed. He fucking killed. Like every trick, like slay. And this is all just a bunch of jaded rock and rollers, hanging out at the rock club, everyone being too cool for school. Okay. And then Justin Purcell, stage magician, just fucking destroyed it.
Well, that's another
Best
thing.
act of the night by far.
Like the guys in our crew, like they could, like our guitar tech, like could learn a simple shitty trick and do it. Like we could do them like off the top, like when Andrew switches, like we could like hire cheap, shitty birthday party musicians in every town to get up.
Yeah, absolutely. Why wouldn't you? I mean,
I just think people would think that was funny.
They need employment too.
Yes.
I mean, COVID. I can't imagine the birthday magician is popping with work right now.
Exactly.
Maybe it is. I don't know. What do I know from it? I mean, maybe that's COVID proof. Like maybe the bunny you put on the hat has a mask on. I don't know. Like, what does it look like?
Right.
So that's Battle of the Band. What else you got?
Battle of the Band, Magical Thinking. I thought I had another one. I do have another one, but I can't think of it at hand. I don't know. Boring. They get more boring and just probably more realistic that I'm going to get them approved. Like just like things from lyrics and stuff like that.
Well, at least you don't have to. Like, at least there isn't any arbitrary criteria. Like, I think of how the Jesus Lizard all had one-word album titles. Like, that was a thing that they did.
Right.
Which I don't think it started off being like a thing, but they were like, oh, we did that for the last 3 things. Let's just keep doing that, I guess.
Yes.
And then it's sort of like, well, how many 4-letter words can you really are left that aren't vulgarities?
Well, the last time we argued about it, we ended up calling our record 12, which was, to me, I was so upset. Like, I just think it's the most boring album title. I had good ones too.
I mean, it does no harm, but
it does no harm. But it's just like, I just think, especially, it's like, it just seemed like it was going to be our last record. It's like, well, they did 12 records. Who fucking cares? But like, I just think like when there's a line of them and it's just like one of them is called 12, it just seems so dumb. I wanted our record to be called, we had a song in the last record called Essential Services, and I thought that was really funny. Like the idea that Sloan is an essential service, like we're not allowed to retire. It's like the government won't let us. Like, it's like we'd love to pack it in, but like the government insists that we keep going. But
we were classified as essential workers. Yeah, no, I think that's great. That's hilarious.
And that was before the pandemic. Like I just think it would have. I wish it had been called Essential Services. It would have been kind of prescient and all that kind of stuff.
We should talk about that on the show. I didn't think about that. Yeah.
Well, whatever. But yeah, next time. But anyway, I thought 12 was shitty. But anyway, it's fine.
I don't know. It's better to have like a just their album title or to have like a bad one.
Yeah. Well, we have a record, a 30-song record called "Never Hear the End of It," which I think is
I think that's
the funniest album title. Like I think that's it's so good. Like I went to the wall fighting for that. Jay was like, "Oh, it's too self-deprecating." I'm like, "Dude, it's fucking hilarious."
I think I'm as a big fan of wordplay. I think Action Packed is good.
Action Packed is good. Parallel play is funny. Like I don't know if you know what that is. It's when children, like young children, who kind of play side by side, but they don't acknowledge each other.
Oh, I do know that. Yeah, I know that concept. Yeah.
So that describes our band too.
That's good. Oh, okay, that's interesting.
And Double Cross is XX, which is just, we were 20 years of band at that point. That's the joke. XX 20.
That makes sense. Makes sense.
And I don't know if there are any other good ones. Hit and Run, I got hit by a car.
Yeah, I can't believe we didn't talk about that last time. It was something we did.
And Commonwealth is just, we split the money. It's kind of boring, but.
Well, Commonwealth's sort of like, we did talk about that one. That plays into the idea of like, there being like the different, the different people. And then there's this, that's the one with the cards, right? Like with the.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. That's good.
And we're the kings. We're represented as kings, kind of.
It's no Operation Mindcrime, let me tell you. But I use that reference way too much. Honestly, I couldn't pick it out of a lineup. It's like Operation Mindcrime. That's my example of a bad concept record too. I'm like, well, you don't want to make Operation Mindcrime because it's just a funny thing to say. Like it doesn't even matter if someone's never heard of the record.
Right.
They just know it's like I know what that is. That's
my joke.
Picture now.
My joke is
Queensryche. I think that is. I don't even like Queensryche. Whatever.
Yeah, I don't know anything about Queensryche.
Couldn't pick a song out of a lineup.
My other joke is like whenever bands are taking a long time to do their record, I say don't go getting Chinese demo crazy.
That's good. I didn't actually. I was like,
takes a second.
Oh yeah. That's good. That's good.
Anyway.
Yeah, I don't think I have any good plays on words I can think of that. So those are solid.
Thank you.
A guy I know, just a dude from around the playing shows, insisted, like he kept sending me, you got to listen to this new Guns N' Roses song. And I was like, I guarantee you I'm not going to do that. He's like, no, but you really need to. And he gave me all these, like, you need to listen for the. It's like, I got to be clear. I'm not going to listen to this. Like, there's no chance I'm going to listen to this.
What year was this? Song. Like now?
This is like last month or something. Like they put out a new song apparently. I'm like, man, I got so much stuff I need to check out. I can't in good conscience listen to the new Guns N' Roses song right now. I'm sorry.
Pardon my ignorance. Are Slash and Axl in the band?
Well, Axl's in the band.
Okay.
I think Buckethead is out, but he played guitar for a while, which is sort of like, that sounds like when you're like playing a game in the van of like, hey, it's, ha ha ha, oh, it's Scorpions, but Tiny Tim is in it, like whatever. But you just come up with some like ridiculous conceit. But who is in the band, I think is still in the band. Let me see. Oh, maybe not anymore. Actually, hold on. I don't even know. I'm not up on my. All I know is he fucking joined AC/DC for a while, and that was weird. Oh, Tommy Stinson. The fucking Replacements was playing in Guns N' Roses for like a while, for like 10 years or something.
Yeah, that's right.
But
never played a show or something. Like he was just in the band.
I think they finally did. I don't. You know what? I don't care enough to know.
There's a guy from up here named Todd Kearns.
Mm-hmm.
I think he played with Slash. I think maybe he ended up in Guns N' Roses.
There's a funny story. Some friend of mine, actually, a dude I used to play with, but this is years before that. And he actually was like a child actor. Almost was Danny Torrance in The Shining.
Oh, really?
Yeah, but we both worked at this ticketing place at Bass Tickets. So it was the Bay Area. It was the only place Ticketmaster wasn't at really in the U.S. at the time. It was independently owned and operated. But it was basically the same thing, right? Like, if you think back to like back in my day, we had to buy tickets, went down to the record store, like, that kind of stuff. But anyway, Slash post Guns N' Roses had some outfit of the Cess Bros and buddies or whatever he was playing with.
Snake Bit.
It was pre-Snake Bit, but because they called the event Slash's Blues Ball.
Oof.
To which the promoter, a noted dick, this promoter, called up, we need to get this on sale immediately. Oh, okay, yeah, no problem. It's like, go ahead and fax it over. That tells you when this was, right?
Right.
And it's like, no, I need you to do it right now. Type it in the system right now. I need you to, this guy's always coked up, by the way. And he's like, and Shane's like, all right, yeah, fine, okay, whatever. He's like, all right, here's the name of the event, right? Ready? Slash's Blue Balls. And Shane's like, what? Really? Are you sure it isn't Slash's Blues Ball? Nope. Slash's Blue Ball. It says so right here.
Did that go out?
Really? Apparently, he typed it up. He's like, I'm going to send you over a proof just to make sure. He's like, yeah, fine, whatever. Just get it on sale for tomorrow.
Oh,
he sent it over, and the guy apparently got yelled at like big time by his boss because we weren't gonna like put it out, but he was like, Conan, you gotta check this out. It's like, so what? This fucking idiot just tried to put on this event for sale for Slash from Guns N' Roses. Oh yeah, Slash's Blue Balls. I just I lost my mind. I was like, that's incredible. And that guy was an asshole too. Not Shane, the guy that called it in, like asshole.
But that's clearly Slash's joke, no?
Oh well, yeah, absolutely, 100%. Like I'm sure he understood like what he was doing when he named the band that. Like the guy's not, he's not a dummy.
I was a joke, or my friends had a joke. It's not exactly my joke, but I'll tell it. Their joke was that you couldn't get fired from Def Leppard. It's like basically, they had the drummer who's still in the band. Lost his arm, at least, couldn't get fired for losing his arm. Anyway, they're basically like, hey, did you hear that the singer for Def Leppard got a tracheotomy? He's still in the band. He's still, he's still, they're still, and then of course, then you start saying,
right.
Or some sugar on me. Anyway, not very good. Maybe me.
Oh man. God, Def Leppard, yeah. Like there's so many jokes about that drummer that really shouldn't be told anymore.
Well, I just think it's funny. It's like
domestic abuser,
singer. Oh yeah, that too. Yeah.
I heard my share of one-armed domestic abuser jokes. I'm like, that's not really that funny, but.
Right. Well, sorry, I didn't mean to be treading that water.
No, I didn't
joke
think
that you could have something terrible happen to you and still Def Leppard wouldn't kick you out of the band.
Right. Exactly.
Oh, he had a tracheotomy. Yeah. Oh, he's still in the. They kept him.
Fine. It's fine.
Okay. Good day to you. You're great.
Thanks so much, man.
Thanks for including me in your cool, credible show. Whatever. It's good for me.
Always glad to have you. I'll probably watch the thing that you're doing, have done, will do, are going to be doing.
All right, well, be in touch. I can set you up. I have lots of spaces for people who are helping me out around the world, so I'll happily send you a ticket, but I also would understand if you're like,
I won't turn it down, man.
I'm not watching that shit. Okay, I'll put that in my list of things to do.
Always a pleasure.
Great to talk to you, man.
Until next time, man.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye. All right. Alpha Navy Blues. She says what she means. She means what she says. That is by the band Sloan. Mr. Chris Murphy, returning guest. We were both very worried about repeating ourselves, and hopefully, I think we did a pretty good job. Love that dude. Tuns. Trans-Canada Highwaymen. Of course, the Mighty Sloan. New Sloan coming up. That's very exciting. Chris Murphy solo show on the internet where we all live. Those are good. Like I said, I wasn't blowing smoke when I said that I loved every single one that I saw. And yeah, good dude. Like that guy a lot. Hope it's not the last time. The name of this show is Conan Neutron's Protonic Reversal. Thank you very much for listening to it. The show airs Thursdays, 8 Eastern, 7 Central, 6 Mountain, 5 Pacific on Radio Nope. RadioNope.com. Say yes to Nope. ProtonicReversal.com for the archives. Always free. No ads, no sponsors, no kidding.
Signing off, Mr. and Mrs. America, and all the ships at sea.
Patreon.com/Protonic Reversal if you want to get episodes of the show sooner. $1 a month will get you there. Thanks to everyone sharing the show around, liking, subscribing. Just send it to a friend. That's how people find out about this thing.
50,000 watts of power.
So it's always appreciated.
I want to ionize the air.
Lots of good stuff coming up. Yeah, I'm going to be back at it more regularly. I know it's been a weird couple weeks, but thanks everyone for listening. I appreciate it.
Into electricity.
Good stuff coming up, as always. Stay safe out there.
Can you hear me now?
And take it easy.
Out on Route 128.
Take it easy.
Dark and lonely. I got my radio on. Can you hear me now? 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 See in the radio. And that snare drum and that drum roll means we've got a winner. If you're the fifth caller, or any caller at all, welcome to my top 10. I'd like to thank our sponsor. But we haven't got a sponsor. Not if you were the last man on earth. She was prepared to prove it. This one goes out to a special girl. But there is no special girl. It's the end of radio. The last announcer plays the last record. The last what? Leaves the transmitter. Circles the globe in search of a listener. Is it really broadcasting if there's no one there to receive? It's the end of radio. As we come to the close of our broadcast day, got my radio on. Can you hear me now? This is a test! If this had been a real emergency,